Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the BSR MX5 Championship. You joined us for round 4, albeit slightly late. We do apologise. Some technical difficulties meant that we're about 2 or 3 minutes into qualifying as we speak, but we'll do a very quick introduction and then we'll get straight on into the action. Don't you worry about a thing. First of all, let me introduce our very sweaty commentary team. My name is Jack Oliphant, and I'm joined, as ever, by Rhys Saunders. Rhys, how the devil are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Jack. Not enjoying this weather at all. It is hotter than anything I've ever experienced. I'm sure our drivers this evening are glad that their virtual MX5s don't have roofs. That's for sure. But no, it is absolutely roasting. How are you keeping?
I'm very well. You look like you're actually enjoying the heat very well with that lovely shirt on. I have to say, I haven't joined you, obviously, with the pattern this evening, but you're properly prepared by the looks of it.
Oh, you got to embrace the climate, I suppose. When it gets to winter and my house is freezing, don't be surprised if I'm commentating in hat and gloves.
Yeah, absolutely. I quite often do it in slippers, don't worry. Right, very quickly, we're going to go into qualifying because, as I said, there's about 7.5 minutes into qualifying, and we are, of course, at Snetterton Race Circuit. Snetterton 300 layout, the longer, the better layout, to be honest, for these MX5s. And you can start to see a couple of drivers already coming up towards the sharp end of the order. They've done about 3 laps, so they're well within their sort of fastest lap range now. Jason Cooper in the number 1 car, currently 2nd place. He's got 2nd place and car number 2, and fairly new to the championship, Jason Cooper's teammate, Lars Fischer. So it's a 5-star lockout on the front row for the time being. Then you've got the Year 1 challenger of Andy McEwen, currently running the number 4 plate in 3rd. Sam Smith in 4th. Wayne Douglas in 5th. And, well, there's a handful of drivers, notable drivers as well, I would say there, Rhys, who haven't even set a time yet. Lee Holmes, Adam Delmont, Julian Schroer, Tom Griffiths, Jamie Gulliford. Loads of drivers who haven't yet been out the pits.
Yes, it might be a strange tactic used by them. As say, they've not even left the pit lane yet. And from what I can see, actually, it might be a strategic call. So as we saw at some of the shorter tracks this season, drivers were pitting just before the end of the session for a fresh set of tyres. Now, with Snetterton being well over a 2-minute lap, they might not have time to do that. So what I think some of our drivers might be doing is just waiting to go out at the end of the session, possibly when the track's in better situations, and going from there. But yeah, notably, so Andy McEwen currently sat in P3, and then our championship leader, Adam Delmont, as I say, hasn't left yet. So very, very interesting. It might be tactics afoot, it might even be penalties. But as I say, interesting to see how this one will pan out, Jack.
Yeah, back when I used to cover the BSR quite a few moons ago, there was quite often one of the more regular punishments was the fact that you weren't allowed to take part in qualifying. You had to start at the back of the grid. Now, we don't have traditionals up in front of us. We don't have all those sort of updates each and every week, but that did used to be a fairly common feature. So it might just be the fact that those 7 or 8 drivers just aren't allowed to take part in qualifying, so we won't see them out at all, which gives a few other drivers, most notably, I would say, up there at the moment, Sam Smith and Wayne Douglas in the top 6, a real good shot at being within that sort of sharp end of the field. Michael Seal in 9th place. He's worth keeping an eye out, isn't he, Rhys? Because he wasn't in attendance last week. Oh, big spin in front of Andy McEwen there. I wasn't sure who that was for, unfortunately. But I'll just carry on with my point. Michael Seal wasn't there last week. Now, he was sat 3rd in the championship going into Brands Hatch, I believe. I'm just going to have a look and see where he is now. He must have plummeted down the order. And, in fact, I can't quite see him. So while I'm looking for that, maybe take us through the top 10.
Yes, so top 10, we've got Jason Cooper in P1, Lars Fischer currently sat in P2, and then we've got Andy McEwen in P3. P4 is Sam Smith, with Adam McNally in P5, and I've got more on Adam McNally after I've run on through. We've then got Wayne Douglas in P6, Nick Libbons in P7, 8th place is Chris Warner, 9th Michael Seal, and then 10th, Series Stalwart, Kip Stevens. As I've said, I've got more information on McNally. And that is, so he actually had an accident playing football with his son at the weekend, and he thinks he's broken his collarbone. Doesn't seem to have slowed him down too much. He's the last driver within the magic 10-second gap from pole position currently. But yeah, he's playing in, or driving I should say, in some discomfort this evening.
I hope he's turned his force feedback down, because that would be extremely uncomfortable, wouldn't it? And it may well affect him and his feel through the wheel and everything like that. But it doesn't seem to be slowing him down too much. He's currently sat in 5th position. And the reason why I couldn't find Michael Seal in the standings is not because he's not there. It's because I was looking at the wrong sheet. I was looking at last week's results, thinking, wondering where Michael Seal was, because he wasn't there. He's currently in 14th place. He went down 12 places last time just for not attending the event. They do have drop rounds here at the BSR MX5 Championship, so he has to take all this with a pinch of salt. He may be able to drop those rounds, but it's still a bit of a shame to his early momentum that the 2 Year 1 drivers managed to build up in himself and Andy McEwen. At the moment, the 5-star team of Cooper and Fisher still dominating. We've spoken quite a lot about the magic 1 second marker race in previous races at Silverstone and at Brands Hatch. Here at Snetterton, 1 second doesn't separate that many drivers, does it? It's only the top 5 within that 1 second margin. The gap seems to be a little bit bigger. Is that because it's a more complicated circuit, the Snetterton 300?
Definitely, I think so. It's a tight and twisty infield. But say, with Snetterton as well, you've got plenty of big braking zones too. There's lots and lots of areas where you can gain time. And that shows Jason Cooper has been phenomenally quick all season. And yeah, currently leading the way in qualifying. Yeah, many key braking zones. See Leon Jenkins just having a little lock up and just pushing wide. And just currently running P11, Leon. He's leading our AM category. In fact, he's beating all of our Pro-Ams as well. So he's having a great time of it so far in qualifying. As we're heading into the final 2 minutes now. So you've got to cross the line with the time that's still running, and then you can complete your lap.
Yeah, so it's the timer plus a lap, really, isn't it? And if we're having a look at elsewhere on the championship, because obviously coming slightly late, so we haven't been able to give you a full rundown of the championship. Jamie Gulliford leading the Pro-Am category, 6th overall, but as I said, leading the Pro-Am, which is quite impressive. The next Pro-Am driver is outside the top 10, 11th place, Douglas Stewart, and then Craig McDonald in 13th as well. So fairly good showing there by Jamie Gulliford at the moment. This is championship standings, of course, not qualifying standings. Adam Fox is the leading AM driver in the championship still. He's he is in 10th place in the championship. He's a long way ahead of Mark Oliver, who is 2nd place in the AM championship, 18th overall. That's Adam Fox, 10th overall, and Mark Oliver, 18th overall. So, yeah, some pretty big margins there. Leon Jenkins showing that he's got intent of trying to close that gap up, but he has only joined very recently. In fact, I think last week was his first evening out with us. So, yeah, we expect to see that battle between Fox and Jenkins heat up as the session goes on. Speaking of the session going on, we've got 20 seconds left. Craig McDonald diving into the pit lane now. Clearly, quite a few drivers, actually, all in the pit lane. Reese, Adam McNally, Wayne Douglas, James Neve, Adam Fox, Craig McDonald, Paul Cook. Pretty much half the field, actually. Not a lot of drivers thinking they can improve on this last lap.
No, it appears like the drivers have decided they've had the best out of it so far. But yeah, quite a stunning amount. We touched on it earlier on. And we've got 7 drivers who, for whatever reason, haven't took to the track in qualifying. And some notable names too. Tom Griffiths, who's won races so far this season. Lee Holmes, consistent top 5 performer. Douglas Stewart as well and Julian Schruer. They've had very good races between them. You've got Adam Delmont as well, a championship leader, not having taken part in qualifying. Luke Pullen and Jamie Gulliford, both 2 very capable Pro-Ams as well. And as I say, not taking part in Q. So we do have, from my maths and from my reckoning, 30 cars signed up so far for this evening's race. So it will be a bumper grid here at Snetterton. Hopefully none of our drivers crack under the heat. But as I say, it's going to be a great night of action for sure, Jack.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm actually glad I'm not using my wheel. I don't think my Fanatec wheelbase would actually hold up in this heat. Hopefully, you guys can't hear my fan pretty much at full blast, pointed directly at me. And if you can hear it, to be honest, I don't care, because there's not a chance that I'm going to turn it off. It's absolutely boiling. And we're sat here for the next 2.5 hours, which will be very fun, I'm sure. We'll be able to bring you the full grid for race number 1 in a little bit, in a couple minutes' time. If you're new to BSR action, then this is the MX5 Championship. There's a TCR Championship on a Thursday night as well, and they run to identical format. I'll explain that to you now. We obviously have a 15-minute qualifying session. That is just about to be wrapped up. That dictates the grid for race 1 only. We have 4 races this evening and on Thursday night, of course. 3 of those are reverse grid races. They're all 15 minutes in length. So that's worth noting. 15 minutes in length. Now, race 2, 3, and 4 are all dictated by a random spinning wheel, a reverse grid. So it could be 6 pulled out the hat, it could be 18, it could be 22, it could be a full reverse grid. And that'll happen for race 2, 3, and 4. Keeps it a little bit spicy, a little bit interesting, and to be honest with you, keeps a lot of people on their toes, because if they knew that it was going to be a top 10 reverse grid or a top 20 or a full reverse grid every single time, people would try and play the system, wouldn't they, and try and get that pole position early.
Yeah, the spinning wheel can be a cruel mistress, and it's one of those ones where you can either really look into it. So we saw Adam McNally earlier in the season. He jumped the start at Brands Hatch. He finished miles off the back of the pack in race 1. Race 2 was a full reverse grid. Put him on pole, drove away from the field. One of the more straightforward race wins we've had here in BSR. So it really does go to show it doesn't really matter what happens in race 1 sometimes. You are at the mercy of that spinning wheel.
You are indeed, yeah. There's the scary tree in the background. I love the scary tree. Unfortunately, gone in real life, struck by lightning at Snetterton. It was a sad day for motorsport fans everywhere. I believe we're just trying to get the grid up in a couple of minutes' time. The qualifying session is still coming to a close. I'm not sure why we are slightly delayed, but we are for the time being. I believe qualifying is just about ticked over to the bottom. We'll be able to bring you race 1 coming up soon. So it's not just us here at Year 1 having slight technical issues. It is also the iRacing servers as well. And I believe actually we're gridding up for race 1. According to my timing screen anyway, people are starting to spawn onto the grid. So maybe I'll be able to bring you down the full grid order just in case we don't get... There it is, in fact. But I will run you through the top 10. Chasing Cooper on pole position. Lars Fischer in 2nd place. 3rd is Andy McEwen. 4th is Sam Smith. 5th, Adam McNally. 6th, Chris Warner. Wayne Douglas is in 7th. 8th, Nick Clibbins. 9th is Michael Seal. Top 10 is rounding out by Kip Stevens. 11th, Leon Jenkins in the AM driver. 12th, James Neve. 13th, Mark Van Dalen. 14th, Adam Fox. 15th, Craig McDonald. 16th, Craig Schill. 17th, Paul Cook. Thor Tuller is in 18th. Mark Oliver in 19th. 20th, Fiona Siddons. 21st, Colin Sansom. 22nd, Glenn Humberstone. Chris Dixon in 23rd, with 24th being Adam Delmont. 25th, Lee Holmes. Tom Griffiths in 26th. Expect to see him and Adam Delmont charging through the order. Jamie Gulliford, our leading Pro-Am Championship leader, all the way down to 27th as well, not setting a time. Luke Pullin in 28th, 29th for Douglas Stewart, and rounding out the field in 30th is Julian Schreur. A nice, healthy grid there. Race just about to get underway. In fact, they look very, very uniform. You wouldn't see them in that nice straight line in real life, would you? But this is going to be very interesting going in towards Ritchie's for the first time.
Definitely, I think this will be the tidiest we see the field all night. It's a very, very fast turn 1 here, and then you've got a heavy braking zone into Montreal. So hopefully we'll see plenty of action, nice and clean. I can hear some revs rising. I don't think we've quite got lights just yet. But I say it'll be hard to beat these 5-star cars here. As we've got the lights now, Jack.
Yep, we got lights, we've got engine noise, we've got an atmosphere building here at BSR MX5, and at Snetterton, we are racing for the first time, and it looked like a good start, good reaction by Lars Fischer, but actually it was a bit of a play on camera. Jason Cooper keeps that pole position, keeps that lead for the time being. Lars Fischer in 2nd place, holding off the attack from Andy McEwen, although Andy's looking to go around the outside here at Ritchie's in the first time round. That's the number 57. I believe that is Michael Seal as well. We're having a little look at Lars Fischer going defensive into the 2nd corner. Of course, a sharp hairpin can go around the outside there. It's a little bit tricky, but it's possible if the driver on the inside gets boxed in. Lars Fischer did not get boxed in, and as a consequence, Andy McEwen is still in 3rd. 4th place, looking very interested, is Sam Smith, with Adam McNally still holding on to the top 5, and to be honest, pretty much all the way down the field, it looks like a fairly even start by everyone. Having said that, Colin Sampson's had a spin, unfortunately. He's fallen right down the order as Andy McEwen goes to the outside for Agostini, getting a little bit boxed out as more drivers are starting to go 2 by 2 again to halfway through this lap race. A little bit tricky. There's a spinner. That was always going to happen as Wayne Douglas falls off the edge of the track.
Yeah, Wayne Douglas, round he goes. And as I say, we've called him a few times in luckiest man in BSR. And yeah, race 1 not getting off to a great start for him there with a spin. Looks like Nick Clibbins also tumbling down the order, back in P10 currently. Lost a few spaces just there. As they're coming down the back straight, looks like Lars Fisher's also had an incident, and he's dropped down. He's P14, P15, and we've got carnage on the entrance to the back straight just there. But Jason Cooper sprinting away clear down into Curran for the first time. Oh my God, there's cars everywhere. Andy McEwen's involved. He's got wheel hanging off his car. People are tripping over each other as they're trying to get going as well. Wayne Douglas, he's spun. He's picked his way through. Once again, he's up to P14, which isn't bad after a spin so far on that one. We have multiple cars out, Jack. Carnage on lap 1, potentially even a safety car, perhaps.
Yeah, no, it's there's the 598 as well, and I'm just trying to see who these. We believe potentially that Lars Fisher was there. It is, yeah. I mean, he didn't really do anything wrong. He just got loose on the rear end, didn't he? It was a simple driver error, a mistake. But unfortunately, when you're racing this close, Reese, as you'll full well know, there is just no room for that kind of error. And unfortunately, the likes of Andy McEwen went into the back of him and ended up spearing everybody off. Well, it's left Jason Cooper a little bit lonely at the front of the field. I'm sure he won't mind. He'll be a bit sad that he hasn't got his teammate up behind him to support. But Adam McNally and Michael Seal. This is going to be heating up a little bit something rotten for Jason Cooper. He has to be a little bit careful because McNally is no slow coach, and Michael Seal, I'm sure, will be hoping to resurrect his championship potential.
Yeah, but some big gaps already between our front three. 2 seconds between McNally and Cooper, and 2.5 seconds back to Michael Seal. And Cooper, obviously, a pole position sitter. He's got to be backing himself here to just be able to pull away. But as you say, Adam McNally driving through the pain barrier tonight will have the bit between his teeth. Leon Jenkins had an absolute storm, though, up to P4. And we mentioned about some of our drivers having not qualified for whatever reasons that might be. Tom Griffiths, P9, Jamie Culliford, P10, and Lee Holmes, P11 as well. So showing, in fact, we've got Luke Cullen in P12 too. Let's give him a mention. And has got another car off on the entry to the back straight. That's Michael Seal. So that's our third place driver, or previously third place driver. He's now currently, I think he's restarted in P8. Just that he might even lose another spot to Tom Griffiths on the run down to Cullen for the second time. As I say, absolute disaster right there for him as well.
Nightmare for the Year 1 team as it stands, but let's take the positives for Leon Jenkins, an AM driver in the overall top 3 in race number 1. That is something you do not see very often at all. Lee Holmes hunkered up behind Michael Seal as they go into Coram. Very tricky braking zone coming up into Murray's, especially on the rear wheel drive. If you have a full manual gearbox, then it can be extremely difficult not to lock the rear end and lock the diff, but I'm sure all these drivers are probably using the flappy paddles that are available in sim racing. Michael Seal looking backwards there at Lee Holmes, who's blinking in and out of existence. Now, when you see that, Reese, you get a little bit worried as a driver because you know that the driver attacking you, you're not always going to see them. You're not going to know where they are.
Yeah, it could be one of those situations where you lose him for a second or two, and in that second or two, he decides to launch it down your inside, for example. If you don't know he's there, you might turn in, and then as it reappears, contact happens, and usually you're spat out into the outside wall. It's just an unfortunate thing. Obviously, we are limited by the internet when we use iRacing. And I say, it's just an unfortunate thing where, you know, if the connection isn't the most stable, you do blink out, as it's called, just for a second or two. But I say, I've seen far worse happening, so you shouldn't be too nervous, Michael Steele, about Lee Holmes behind him. Sometimes you see cars bouncing up and down, so yeah, not too terrifying for him at the moment.
Michael Seal, has to be said, he started 9th. He got up to that podium positions due to a big crash, basically. Now dropped back down to 9th. So it's not exactly a terrible day for him so far. With Nick Clibbins now in 3rd place, ahead of Leon Jenkins. And James Neve finally trying, the last driver trying to fly the flag for Year 1, up to 5th position at the moment. Got the AM driver ahead of him. He's probably got high hopes that he can be able to get past him and maybe chase down Nick Clibbins for an overall podium position, trying to snatch back some glory for Year 1. We'll have to wait and see. 5-star man of Jason Cooper is a 5-star performance so far as well, with 9 minutes to go, basically. He hasn't been touched so far. His lap times have been consistent. They've also been the best in the field. He's the only driver out there to have reached the 2:05 mark at the moment as well. So, yeah, Jason Cooper going strong. Adam McNally as well, fighting through the pain, like you mentioned earlier. Reese, equally going very, very well.
Yeah, Jason Cooper, will he allow his mind yet to drift towards the spinning wheel of fortune for race 2 yet, or will he just be focusing on these final 5 laps that we've got? Yeah, obviously a mistake can change everything for him, so hopefully that reverse grid doesn't needle at him too much, but yeah, definitely in control right here. But Nick Clibborn's 3rd place in the championship, currently 3rd place on the road as well. He'll be happy with that. I'm looking at a championship picture. Adam Delmont, I believe, having a look at my running order, I can't find it. He's P15, so he will be getting a few points to stretch his lead over Andy McEwen, who in P26 won't be gaining like he did last week at Silverstone on our championship lead. Just it was about 17 points or so, the gap as we entered into our race meeting this evening. Let's say that looks like it'll broaden in race 1, Jack.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to bring you the live updates of all the stats and everything going into race 2 potentially. We'll have to wait and see if it's managed to sort itself out. Leon Jenkins. Now, Reese, I'm quite impressed here because Leon hasn't been dropped by Nick Clibbins. As we've mentioned before, he is the AM driver in amongst a lot of pros, and then obviously Craig McDonald's a pro-AM driver as well, so still an echelon above Leon and his ranking. It's very impressive here that he hasn't been dropped by Nick. It's impressive that he's been able to stay ahead of James Neave. It almost looked like an inevitability that he was going to get overtaken about a lap ago. But as they go down toward Bundle and Nelson now, he's actually closer to 3rd place than he is to 5th.
Yeah, I think maybe they've not told him he's an AM driver, because he's certainly not driving like one. He's driving incredibly, incredibly well. 13 places ahead of Fiona Siddons, who's next in class. So absolutely dominant, and he'll be very, very happy with it so far. Craig McDonald leading our pro-am class, about 3.5 seconds down the road from him right now. But he'll be looking in his mirror because he's got Tom Griffiths right there with him as well. And we know Tom is no slouch at all.
5 laps to go, soon to be 4 laps to go, and indeed, as I say it, actually, Jason Cooper crosses the line. Quite a long lap. I think you mentioned it before, about 2 minutes. So it's not short. Normally, when we were at Silverstone or Brands, actually see 5 laps to go, you're thinking, wow, where's the time gone? But actually, here, it does take quite a while. This is Lee Holmes and Tom Griffiths. Tom Griffiths, who did so well at the last time out. It's surprising to see him down the order, but that's because he didn't qualify. So this is effectively a reverse grid race for him. Number 76, trying to battle his way into, that is actually a fight between Griffiths and McDonald, apologies, not Lee Holmes. So Griffiths in 7th, trying to get past McDonald, who's currently in 6th place. Fantastic recovery drive by Tom Griffiths, aided potentially by the fact that he's had a couple of people fall off in front of him, but still a great drive by himself. And in fact, going into Agostini, he looks to have that 6th place all done and dusted.
Yeah, very, very calm, very assured. It's what we've come to expect from Tom. To be fair, we can hold him to a high standard because he's driven to a high standard so far this season. It's hard to believe that we're rapidly approaching the 3rd waypoint of the championship. Next week it's our holidays over to Monza, and that'll be the halfway point. I say it's charging and charging on through. Apologies if we do have any technical interference, by the way, guys. I think there's a bit of a storm brewing over at the production house, and I don't mean that he's not done his chores around the house and the missus has gone home, but I think there's a bit of an electrical storm happening over at Graham Sesford's. So if we do lose the broadcast, as I say, we'll just try and get it back up as soon as we can.
Indeed, hopefully we're still live. I think the go-to thing is that we keep going until we're told otherwise. Reese, and to be honest, I don't mind that at all because it's heating up in here as well, not just temperature-wise, this particular race as well. But this is quite often what we see in race 1 of BSR action, whether it be TCR or the MX5, with that qualifying dictating race 1 starting order. You quite often see, drivers pretty much where they belong, apart from obviously, a big incident or something like that. But going into 3 laps to go, Cooper, McNally, Clibbins, that top 3, you wouldn't be surprised at all if that came out in any race, would it? The likes of Tom Griffiths in 6th place, little bit of a surprise. Jenkins in 4th, little bit of a surprise. Neve is probably in 5th, that's probably fair enough. But it's more, the interesting thing is the drivers that have fallen down at the back of the field. Adam Fox, if we're going to focus slightly on the AM class drivers, he's all the way down in 20th position. You mentioned Fiona Siddons. and 17th as second in the AM class at the moment. But Adam Fox, who has done so well in previous rounds, really struggling here, and he'll be desperate, I'm sure, to try and get a full reverse grid out of the magic spinning wheel. At the moment, it's not starting out particularly well for him.
And Adam Fox would benefit from a full reverse grid. Some drivers won't though, and the reason for that is because to qualify for to qualify for a full reverse grid, you've got to be either on the lead lap or 1 lap behind. So drivers like Chris Dixon, Mark Oliver, Portola, and Darlan, Sansom, McEwen and Schill, even if they get a full reverse grid, it's not going to affect them. They're going to be starting at the back or race 2 regardless. As I say, just major incident there at the start. Triggered by Lars Fischer, who has managed to keep running, just running just a little bit wide onto the backstretch as they come out of Williams. And I say, it's cost a few heavily. It's cost Lars a bit of bodywork as well, looking at that as well. But he's bravely soldiering on, as I say, as he runs on down to Brundle and Nelson.
Well, Lars Fischer, when he got loose going onto the back straight, it actually really didn't affect him that much, did it? He just got a light tap from McEwen, and apart from that, he didn't have any contact whatsoever. So, realistically, I would have been surprised if Fischer actually had any kind of problems with his car at all. And as we're on board with him going through bomb hole, it looks like his car's tracking straight. He didn't have to go back to the pits, and to be honest, fighting up to 16th place, got Douglas Stewart ahead of him. 2 laps to go might be a bit of an ask to try and get up there, but he's doing a good job at sort of trying to rescuing as best he can the rest of this race. The thing is, if you're in the top 15, you've got a good chance of being at the front of the order for that reverse grid, and it's a second chance then, isn't it, for Lars Fischer?
Definitely, second chance for the number 2. Obviously, just before we got on air, actually, I just want to pull this on up. There was a previous name for Bumhole Corner, wasn't there? Which you're telling me has been used.
Yeah, so I got told this by another commentator. I got told it by Chaz Draycott, who I know that Graham Sesford knows and a few of the BSR lads know as well. When I was commentating with him, and is that a defensive manoeuvre? Sorry, just to slightly distract myself. Are we looking at a slightly defensive drive there? No, I don't reckon we are. But yes, I got told this by Chaz Draycott, so don't quote me on it. If I'm wrong, it's his fault. But Bumhole, yeah, once was a different named corner. It was called Bumhole, which obviously is a bit more of a joke these days. But apparently it was called Bumhole to start with, and it was only because people started actually broadcasting at Snetterton, and they didn't think that that was appropriate for TV. Obviously, we don't care here at Year One TV, but they didn't think it was appropriate to say over terrestrial television. So I think they changed it to Bombhole, which no one ever questioned because it does look like a bomb has just hit the ground.
Yes, it does indeed. Obviously, it is an old airfield circuit, so quite plausible that might have happened at some point. But it's very, very good, and what a brilliant explanation for it to say. It was one that I wanted you to run through. I didn't want to get it wrong myself, but now if Chaz Draycott says it, then it must be true. As we're heading round towards our final lap, Jason Cooper, he's got a 7-second lead. It's almost unheard of in the BSR. He's sprinted away from the field, and he's not looked back.
He hasn't indeed. Yeah, just to finish off the Bumhole story, really. Apparently the reason why they called it Bumhole in the first place is because when you go through it in pretty much any car, that particular body part tightens quite a lot. It can be quite a scary feature when you actually real life racing anyway. It's speaking of experience, it can do that, trust me. Yeah, but one driver it hasn't done anything to is Jason Cooper. Last lap, how long has he got? He's got a 7-second gap between himself and Adam McNally in second place. After that massive incident on lap 1, Reese, he hasn't really looked back. He hasn't needed to. He's almost coasted to the finish line here.
Yeah, really, really strong, really, really dominant. He'll be praying for a small number on the reverse grid. Yeah, just super, super strong stuff. Again, something that we know Jason Cooper is very, very, very capable of doing. But yeah, to pull a gap like that over the likes of McNally is just, yeah, it's a freakishly strong performance from him. As we've got a bit of an incident further back, it looks like Wayne Douglas has just dropped 2 places. He's in P12. He's been passed by Jamie Gulliford, and in fact, he's having a titanic battle there, actually. That's why it looks like he's moving around on the scoreboards. You've got a whole heap of cars line astern, a few Year One TV cars in there. You've got the Douglas Motorsport car there too, as well. So It'll be interesting to see as Michael still getting right up the inside there. Douglas going right out wide. This will be a fantastic fight down a very tricky braking zone as we watch Jason Cooper coming on round to take the checkered flag now in race 1.
Yeah, he's just going through Corham, so I was hoping we would actually just jump down to see Brundle and Nelson and that final battle, but it looks like we're going to be looking at Jason Cooper as they go towards Murray's. It's a fantastic race victory. It's going his way yet again for Jason Cooper, 5th in the championship going into tonight. Only 10 points behind Tom Griffiths, who was in 4th. Well, that gap may well have been leapt in race 1. So it looks like Jason Cooper takes the checkered flag here at Snetterton 300 with Adam McNally coming across the line in 2nd place, fighting through the pain to take that 2nd with Nick Clibbins in 3rd. And there we go, Leon Jenkins, M-Class winner and 4th place overall with James Neve rounding out the top 5. Now, how are these all going to fix themselves? The Year 1 TV driver going across the line. In fact, a whole cohort of them, actually. I believe that was Colin Gulliford, Seal, Douglas and McDonald. So Seal did manage to crack in to the top 10 at the end of that particular race. And we're just seeing the rest of the cars coming across the line now. Luke Pullen took the Pro-Am victory as well, by the way, in 8th place overall, ahead of Jamie Gulliford. Good race overall there, I would say, Reese. Plenty more to come, though, in terms of drama for race 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah, very good race. Oh, it looks like there's a little bit of afters between the Team 1 Year 1 teammates there. Sure, it's friendly banter on their behalf. But I think we've got the reverse grid spinning wheel coming right up, making up for lost time here on Year 1 TV.
We are indeed, and with the reverse grid, we also get our lovely faces. Luckily, I was half paying attention there. As Graham Sesford runs the wheel, and it is a top 15 reverse grid. I'm just getting a little bit of a spoiler on my left-hand side, looking at the finishing results. I'll bring you them in full in a couple of seconds' time, but that is the number to remember. The top 15 will be reversed for race number 2, which will be coming up in a couple of minutes' time. About 5 minutes, we'll go into a very quick break, but not quite yet, because, of course, we want to bring you that rundown from race number 1. 15, second biggest number we could have had potentially there, isn't it, Reese? And we've seen quite a, I think it's Silverstone last week potentially. I think it was Silverstone last week anyway. We saw quite a few full reverse grids, didn't we? Which obviously spices things up. But a 15 is not bad either.
I think a 15 will be very, very spicy, especially because the field got jumbled up in race 1. So it's kind of re-scrambling what was already jumbled. As I say, I know some drivers will benefit from where they finished, like Adam Delmont and Lars Fischer. Obviously finishing just outside the top 10. Both of them will be in a strong position for race number 2. Jason Cooper will just be happy it wasn't a full reverse grid. He'll be very, very chuffed with that one. And then, as I say, with it being 15, there's a lot of drivers there that'll be watching on thinking, I need to make better, need to make amends in race 2, need to make my way up potentially more than half of the grid, Jack. So all to play for going forwards.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if any drivers are out there sort of thinking, 15 is a long way back, you have to take heart from the fact that obviously Tom Griffiths came from pretty much dead last up to 6th place. There's pretty much always going to be some carnage in that reverse grid as well. And if it's anything like what we've seen in that previous race, and obviously going on to the back straight, then there's every chance for a lot of drivers to make up a lot of places. And that you just have to be so careful, don't you? Especially with those cold tyres. We haven't seen so much people falling victim to the cold tyres so far, Reece, this season. But that's exactly what Lars Fischer did. Is that, I don't want to say inexperience, because he's got a 4,600 I rating. But is that something that you maybe saw there? Just a little bit of rear slip from those colder tyres, or do you reckon there was something more in it?
I think potentially being caught out by the cold tyres is true. That being said, he had Andy McEwen all over him all the way through that first lap. We saw him being attacked on the brakes down into Montreal. We saw him being attacked. Andy was looking around the outside of Agostini as well. And I think it was just the pressure building on up there for Lars. And unfortunately, he made a mistake. And Andy McEwen actually paid the heaviest price of all from that mistake. So the pressure didn't pay off for Andy at all there. But yeah, I think it was a mixture of Andy McEwen absolutely pouring it on thick and cold tyres.
Yep, you're probably right. Here's the podium, though. Confirmed Jason Cooper taking the victory with Adam McNally in 2nd place and Nick Clibbins rounding it out for SimTech Racing. You can see the top 3 confirmed there, but the rest of the field as well. Leon Jenkins in 4th place and taking the AM-class victory. Mayor James Neve in 5th with Tom Griffiths in 6th. Lee Holmes in 7th and rounding out, coming first in the Pro-Am category is Luke Pullen in the 595. He's in 8th place overall. Jamie Gulliford in 9th with 10th being Michael Seal. 11th is Wayne Douglas with Craig McDonald in 12th. 13th, Adam Delmont. 14th, Lars Fisher. 2 drivers to be keeping an eye out on, I say, in race number 2, because on pole position for race 2 is 15th place man Douglas Stewart. Douglas Stewart will start on pole. Lars Fisher will start second, exactly where he started that particular race. Fiona Siddons in 16th and unluckily just missing out on that pole position. 17th, Julian Schroer. Adam Fox in 18th. Glenn Humberstone in 19th. Sam Smith in 20th. Starting to see a lot of drivers a lot further back now, as Kip Stevens is in 21st place. 22nd was Chris Warner. Paul Cook in 23rd with Mark Oliver in 24th. Mark Van Dalen in 25th with Thor Tuller in 26th. Craig Schill in 27th. 28th was Chris Dixon. Andy McEwen ended up 7 laps down in 29th. And Colin Sampson rounded out the field 8 laps down in 30th position. Right, Reese. I think it's about that time that we go to a very quick break here at Year One TV. Mainly because I need to go and dunk my head in a cold bucket of water and open the doors to my office to try and get a little bit of air through, because I feel like I've used it all up in that first race. Please do stick around, and we'll be back in about 5 minutes' time for more BSR MX5 action here on Year One TV. Well, we're going into race number 2. It's caught me a little bit off guard. It took me a little longer to get my drink than I was expecting. But I believe, Reese, that you've got some championship standings potentially to go through. I'm hoping so anyway, because the graphics were going a little bit glitchy before, weren't they? And hopefully they've fixed themselves now.
Yeah, well, actually, I think the championship graphics are ahead of us right now because I've not got the points listed myself. So, after race 1, we've got Adam Delmont in P1 on 1,056 points. He has a huge lead over Nick Clibbens, over 120, well, it's 121 points. Nick Clibbens tied on points with Andy McEwen. Then we've got Jason Cooper after his dominant race 1 victory in P4. Tom Griffiths ran out of top 5 after a strong recovery drive. Jamie Culliford at Pro-Am leader as well. He's currently in P6 with Adam McNally in P7, Kip Stevens P8, and at Am leader Adam Fox in 9th place. Douglas Stewart rounds out our top 10 just there. And then we've got Craig McDonald currently in P11, Sam Smith P12 with Paul Cook also on 698 joint 12th place. James Neve is P14 and we've got Adam Delmont's stats just in front of us. So we can see leading the championship on 1,056 points, 13 starts, 2 wins, 5 podiums. Definitely not our winningest of drivers so far, but it's that consistency. It's those 5 podiums that he's got and that 5.15 average finishing position. And if you look, no DNF so far this season for him. He's had 2 worst finishes of P13, which hasn't worked out too unlucky for him so far. Had one in race 1 last week at Silverstone International. He's had one this week as well, as we've headed over to Norfolk for Snetterton. But if you look at how strong some of his results have been, especially looking at his Brands Hatch week, where he had 2 second places, a win and a 4th, that just shows it's just been bagging the points. Maybe not necessarily the race wins, but he's been bagging the points. He's been there when others haven't, and that's how he's got this mighty, mighty championship lead over Clibbens and McEwen.
He does indeed, yeah. And actually, Clibbens jumping up to 2nd place, but drawing with Andy McEwen, isn't he, at the moment? So both those drivers have a lot to play for, and only 121 points back from the championship leader. So that could swing easily just in this particular weekend, or evening, I should say, actually, shouldn't I, really? Because we're not even into the weekend. Right! Gridding up for race number 2. Thank you very much, Reese, for doing that, because I wasn't actually in the session. It took me a little bit surprised, like I was saying. Douglas Stewart will be on pole, but Lars Fisher and Adam Delmont are the 2 drivers we're keeping an eye out on. I said that there's 121 points of difference between Delmont and Clibbens and McEwen, but actually, in this one, it's probably going to go a little bit differently. Delmont will be expected to extend his lead. Craig McDonald in 4th place, Wayne Douglas in 5th, 6th, Michael Seal, Jamie Gulliford in 7th, Luke Pullen in 8th, Lee Holmes in 9th, with Tom Griffiths in the top 10. James Neve in 11th, Leon Jenkins in 12th, 13th, Nick Clibbens, with 14th being Adam McNally, 15th, Jason Cooper, Fioden Siddons in 16th, 17th, Julian Schroer, with 18th being Adam Fox, Glenn Humberstone in 19th, and 20th is Sam Smith. 21st, Kip Stevens, Chris Warner in 22nd, 23rd is Paul Cook, Mark Oliver in 24th, Mark Van Dalen in 25th, 26th, Paul Tuller, 27th, Craig Schill, and we've got the lights on, so we can't bring you the rest of them. It's Chris Dixon, Andy McEwen at the back of the field as well. You can see him in the background. The engine notes are up. The lights have gone out, which means we are racing here with Douglas Stewart getting a good start. A very aggressive move across there by the 5-star driver of Lars Fisher. It's exactly what he did to Andy McEwen just, about 20 minutes ago, 1 race ago, I should say, has the inside line to try and fend off and attacking Adam Delmont. They all trail Douglas Stewart for at least 50 yards before Douglas Stewart flies off the circuit on the outside of turn 1. That allows at least 5, 6, 7, 8 cars to try and dive on through into turn 2. It doesn't cause a massive accident, which is a relief on the exit. In fact, I think that was Nick Clibbens getting a little bit sideways in the background. Lars Fisher leading. It could look like Jason Cooper, but that's just matching cars with the driver falling off in the background there. Adam Delmont in 2nd, Wayne Douglas in 3rd, Michael Seal is in 4th, and rounding out the top 5 is Craig McDonald for the time being, but it could all change as they go heading towards Agostini. They're too wide at the front end of the order, but it's not for 1st place. It's actually for 2nd. Wayne Douglas and Adam Delmont going side by side. So Wayne Douglas getting up the inside of our championship leader and into 2nd place. They bomb towards Hamilton.
Yes, a very strong start for Lars Fisher there. Douglas Stewart being hit by the commentator's curse. The moment we said he'd done a great job at the start, he ran wide coming out of Riches. Let's say we've got Lars Fisher leading the way as we come through Williams onto the backstretch. he doesn't make the same mistake as last time. He's learnt from that. The cars behind him will all have a slipstream, similar to how we had down the Hanger Straight last week. It's who'll get the run through Brundle into Nelson. Will we have any big sense on lap 1? If anyone will, it'll probably be Wayne Douglas. He's got to do some defending from Adam Delmont, who gets up the inside. Will he get that? No, he won't. There's contact. Looks like we've got a car going around, and that could be quite a big one behind. We've got cars dropping down. Adam Delmont, our championship leader, though, having big contact and tumbling on down the order. I'm not sure if he'll rejoin. We'll have a look and see what damage he's got in a moment, I'm sure. But say, big misfortune there. Potential title implications. He's got back going, but say it's all the way back down in P24. I think just cold tyres and not enough space through what is probably the trickiest braking zone we've got on the calendar this season.
It is very difficult into Brundle and Nelson, and normally 2 doesn't go into 1, that's for sure. I had a bit of experience, actually. Well, it wasn't me, but I did witness it. It was Michael Crease, if anybody knows that name out there. He used to be my teammate, and he ran into the side of someone trying to go around the outside of them, into Brundle and Nelson. It was, it was a bit treacherous, shall we say. I didn't quite agree with the fact that you should dive around the outside of someone there. You're pretty much always asking for trouble. But that's exactly what a lot of people do, unfortunately. Lars Fischer leading the way. Luke Cullen, Michael Seal, Craig McDonald and Wayne Douglas all fighting it out for second at the moment. You can see them jumping around. There we go. On the timing screens. That's the number 57 Michael Seal. Luke Cullen just ahead of him. Craig McDonald in the Pro-Am category as well. Second in the Pro-Am category because Luke Cullen is actually leading Pro-Am in second place overall. As Wayne Douglas, of course, goes up the inside of the 596 Craig McDonald. And into fourth position for the time being is Jamie Gulliford, nudges both of them off the circuit. Jamie Gulliford going on through into fourth place. Tom Griffiths follows him into fifth. That's a 5-place gain for him. And Jason Cooper, our race 1 winner, in 6th place at the moment. It could so easily be 3rd. It could so easily be 15th as well. That's how close it is at the moment, Reese. And just as I say that, there's a massive pile-up in the background. Fiona Siddons, Wayne Douglas, Paul Cook, no, not Paul Cook, Craig Schill potentially, all involved in that one. And unfortunately, you just had that sense that it was coming.
Field was bunching up. We've got cars 2-3 wide into every braking zone. Looks like Douglas Stewart's race is done. Looks like a lot of damage to that car. Wayne Douglas also has had big damage. We've got another spinner. I think that might be Wayne Douglas going around again. Hard to tell through the smoke. But yeah, a lot of damage caused there. And plenty of cars now. Unfortunately, that was Glenn Humberstone going around. We saw there just coming out of Williams. But yeah, unfortunate. One man who won't be worrying about any of it at all, though, is Lars Fischer. He's repeating what Jason Cooper did in race 1. And he's getting out of town. He's bolted whilst the door's open, and yeah, he's 5 seconds down the road now, having a great time and beating the 2-year 1 cars of Seal and Cullen. But say, doing a good job there is Lars Fischer.
He's loving life right now, isn't he? He's not quite as quick as his teammate was in race number 1. 2:06.1 is his best time. I think, I can't remember the exact time, but it was definitely in the 2:05. It was Jason Cooper's previously best time. Jason Cooper is in this battle that we're seeing on the screen right now, which has fight for second place. Michael Seal back onto the podium positions. He'll be hoping to stay there this time. Luke Cullen, his year 1 teammate, but in the Pro-Am category, in 3rd. Tom Griffiths in 4th. Obviously one of the Excite cars. Jamie Gulliford, another year 1 TV machine, I believe it is, in 5th place. And then we have Jason Cooper in the 5 stars. So the 3 big teams, really, I would say, in this championship, all represented here in the fight for the top. So up for second place, Jason Cooper makes a big bid up the inside of Jamie Gulliford. Does it nice and clean, late on the brakes as well. Really good move there by the number 1.
Yeah, picking his way through the field nicely, not taking too many risks. He realises the wind's probably out of bounds right now, but he knows that if he just picks them off one at a time, he can turn that into a 5-star 1-2 here in this race and gain back himself some serious championship points against Adam Delmont, who is still running P13 even after that contact early doors. It just shows how jumbled up the midfield got with all that contact on lap 2 through turn 6 and 7. And Andy McEwen is actually dropped behind Delmont now, back to P15. But say, not a big point swing there for them. But yeah, Jason Cooper looking to pick his way through as we're coming to Brundle. Not quite close enough as we head into Nelson. Doesn't take any sausage curb that time. And say they'll be charging through Bomhole and into Curram and Morris to finish the lap. I have had to get a track map this week for Snetterton. I don't quite know the corner names as well as some of the previous tracks we've visited. But yeah, Jason Cooper following through the fast, ever-tightening right-hander that is Curram. It's hard to know what the quickest way is round there. If you go too quick in, you'll lose time out, and if you go too slow in, then you'll never build it up on exit. Jason Cooper seems to have got it figured out, and we've got a visor full of Excite Racing right in front of us now.
Yeah, it's a difficult corner, is Coram, and going into Murray's, I would say that's probably the hardest braking zone on the circuit. Always absolutely hated it, as I said, had to box shift it half the time just to get the car down into gear without locking the diff. These guys don't have that problem. Oh, Jason Cooper thought he was going to try and go around the outside of what was Tom Griffiths, who looked very interested in trying to get past Luke Cullen. But as those cars moved around under braking, or not even under braking, just before they hit the braking zone, he had to slam the brakes on himself. Gulliford getting hung out a little bit wide here. Oh, Jason Cooper is going to take advantage. That's a tight line. Is he going to get the proper run? He is indeed. Really good run, in fact, on Luke Cullen going in towards Agostini. And it's a good move yet again for Jason Cooper. He's making that work quite well, isn't he? That late break into Agostini, Reese. It's one of the best overtaking opportunities on the track, but you really do have to line it up. Jason is doing exactly that every single time.
Yeah, he's just picking his way through. He's shown his quality. He's shown why he's got that #1 on the side of his car. As we pick our way through turn 6, through 7 of Williams, it's important to get the exit out of here. Put the draft down the backstretch, down the Bentley Straight, towards Nelson and Brundle. Will he take a risk into there, like we saw Adam Delmont do, or will he not? It looks like he's going to go for the inside, actually, and he's trying to overtake the 76 of Tom Griffiths. Two very skilled drivers. I'm sure it will work out for them. Potentially, he says with bated breath. Tom Griffiths actually successfully defends on the inside. But I think it will just be a matter of time before we see Jason Cooper making his way into some podium positions here. Looking very, very, very solid tonight at Snetterton.
Yeah, Tom Griffiths, another driver that we're quite often used to seeing at the front end of the order. I'm sure he won't be very pleased with the fact that Jason Cooper's managed to get through this efficiently. 5 laps to go. It's about to be 4 laps to go, isn't it? Because, well, Jason Cooper's teammate Lars Fisher is about to cross the line now. There we go. 4 laps to go then for these drivers. With Fisher leading, Seal in second, Griffiths in third. We're actually looking back from Tom Griffiths' car and looking at the front end of Jason Cooper. As they go towards Ritchie's. Oh, I thought Luke Cullen was going to outbrake himself there into the first corner, but it's not to be. Second apex, I would argue, is the most important, and it looks like Cooper's got the second apex hooked up down to a T. And as they hit the brakes late, Griffiths is going to have to try and carry some momentum around the outside, but he hasn't carried enough. There's just about enough of an overlap to commit himself into the inside with the left-hander, but it's going to be a bit tricky. You can't go too wide through there. The drive on the outside is always going to get hung out to dry if the drive on the inside is feeling a little bit naughty. He's not actually. Great respect there by Tom Griffiths, allowing Cooper just to run side by side with him. Cooper will be on the outside yet again for Agostini. This really should be Tom Griffiths' chance to fend him off. And there we go. I thought that was coming. A little bit of a punt off, hung out to dry a little bit as Luke Cullen now goes up the inside into Hamilton's. Not usually an overtaking point, and that's why Jason Cooper came off the throttle. Tom Griffiths lives to fight another day in that third place.
Yeah, so I don't think anyone's told Luke Cullen that you can't overtake into Hamilton because he threw the rulebook out the window right there with that one. But yeah, Jason Cooper being hung out to dry. Tom Griffiths was very, very fair. Don't think he did anything wrong at all. All's fair in love, war and motor racing. But yeah, Tom Griffiths holding on to P3 for now. Jason Cooper having to rethink his attack a little bit. He's now got Luke Cullen to re-overtake. Luke Cullen obviously doing a great job leading our Pro-Am category. You've got to look quite far back to P21 before we see who's leading our AM class, and that is Adam Fox. He's back to normal service. We said he was a little bit off colour actually in race 1. Wasn't quite near the front as we expected him to be. But so, he got hit in race 1 by Mark Van Dalen, which I think Mark's now 2 for 2 in appearances in year 1 and taking out teammates. So yeah, I'm sure we'll be having words with him later on. But yeah, Adam Fox recovering back to P21, back to leading the way. He has got our podium finisher from race 1, Leon Jenkins, right behind him in P22. And so we'll see how it plays out in AM, and we'll keep an eye on those timing screens for you. But looking at timing screens, Lars Fisher storming away at 7.5 seconds now. I think him and Jason Cooper must have had a bet on who can win by the biggest margin today. But yeah, they're both doing extremely, extremely well through the first 2 races. And Cooper has managed to get past Luke Cullen for P4.
I'm sure that going into race 1, the plan was that those two would actually pull away from the rest of the field together, but it didn't quite happen, did it? So they've had to do it slightly separately. Tom Griffiths right onto the back of Michael Seal after he fended off Jason Cooper, sorry. Just a lap ago, he set his sights going forward and decides that he can't rely on Luke Bullen to keep in between himself and the championship, the champion, the reigning champion. He's going to have to put Michael Seal there as well, and that's exactly what he did going into Agostini. So the second place changes. Griffiths now ahead of Michael Seal, who is just ahead of Jason Cooper. Luke Bullen leading the Pro-Am, just ahead of Jamie Gulliford, who's leading that second place in the Pro-Am. Michael Seal, Reese now as a racing driver. You see that, what Michael Seal has just done, a snap of oversteer, and you think that he smelled blood in the water, don't you? As you're coming onto the back straight, going in towards Brundle and Nelson, and actually Michael Seal lifts off the throttle. He doesn't want to waste any more time. He concedes the position, gets behind Jason Cooper, decides he might want to use him to get back ahead of Tom Griffiths.
Yeah, it's almost like he decided that Cooper wasn't his fight. He had that wiggle of oversteer. I actually didn't know if he actually caught the back of Griffiths there at all, or just got caught out on the apex. And you can see Jason Cooper, he's completely forgotten about the move for P3. He's already thinking about the move for P2 just there. He is like a basset hound sniffed blood. Unfortunately, in this circumstance, Tom Griffiths might very well be the fox in the box and might be about to be caught out here. But as I say, yeah, Jason Cooper. We've got a lovely view on board Michael Seal, actually, seeing the action unfold in front. Cooper goes to the outside for Riches. You don't see many moves around there. He's already been pushed wide once by Tom Griffiths. I'm sure that'll be in the back of his mind. Gets a good run through. Tom Griffiths catches the inside curve a bit too much. Side by side on the brakes now into Montreal. Cooper looking for the outside. Doesn't get it, but he will get a switchback. Beautifully executed move there from Jason Cooper. Will he now be clear for the left-hander of Palmer? Ooh, not quite, I don't think, but he's marginally ahead going into the point. It's definitely earned racing room there. He does complete it as we head into Palmer just there. So Jason Cooper from 15th on the grid with our reverse grid. He's made it all the way back up to second place. I don't think he's quite going to get the 7.8 seconds back to his teammate. So that Tom Griffiths isn't done yet as we head down into Agostini. Right on the bumper there of Jason Cooper. So we're hoping to stay with him in the draft and capitalise on potentially a rare mistake from Cooper just here. So showing very, very strong tonight.
Is indeed, yeah. It's it's already a full 10th gap though, and they've only been in this position for about 3 corners. So I think Jason Cooper just shown that he's got this car just absolutely on rails. And I mean, Reese, can you sort of explain why he's so much quicker than everybody else to be able to carve through the order so efficiently and then to pull a gap like he has done? Is it a case of that he's found something special in the car? Will he have practiced more? What can you shine any light on potentially why some drivers are absolutely rapid like this and some drivers who are still very, very quick, like Tom Griffiths, Lars Fisher, Michael Seal, McNally, McEwen, but they just don't quite have that extra couple of tenths?
It'll be a range of factors. You've got, the incredible talent that is Jason Cooper. He's probably worked quite hard on his setup, and Snetterton might very well be one of his favourite tracks too. But I'm quoting a wise man here, and he might chuckle as I say this, but it's practice, practice, practice for me. He's probably done plenty of laps. Actually, they host like a practice race on a Monday night before the BSR race goes live. And as I was watching that last night, as we were trying a few things for the graphics, which you'll see as the meeting goes on, it was Jason Cooper and Lars Fisher 1-2 on the grid for that as well. So this isn't a fluke, guys. They've worked hard all week, and it's now paying off for them on race night. Points only get handed out at the end of a race, and it looks like Lars Fisher, with half a lap to go, is going to collect max points here from race 2 tonight. And again, he'll be hoping for a nice and small number with Jason Cooper for the reverse grid for race 3.
Yeah, they were hoping for a sort of 1-2 for 5-star in race number 1. It didn't come to fruition. It might come to fruition here, but I would say Tom Griffiths all of a sudden has turned it on a little bit, hasn't he? He's managed to catch back up. He's not being dropped by Jason Cooper. There's an opportunity potentially into Brundle and Nelson. It all depends on the next 2 corners. Very tricky on the next 2 corners. You have to hook up the right-hand side apex there, pretty much ride all the way along it, and then it's about picking your apex and picking your PowerPoint, I would like to call it. Picking your exit, when you're going to put the throttle down, basically. I've just had a note in my ear that Graham Sessler thinks he's a little bit too far back as he went onto the back straight. Let's see, as he goes into Bundle and Elsie, he's about to hit the braking zone. He's not going to be quick enough. He's not going to be alongside, anywhere near alongside now. He does close up under braking. Is that because he's committing a little bit too much speed in? Look how he rides that exit curve there, a little bit harder than Jason Cooper. He's throwing everything at it, is Tom Griffiths. Might not be enough, though, as we finally circle round to see Lars Fischer, who is going through Murray's now, will be taking the checkered flag. It's a first place for Jason Cooper in race number 1 for 5-star. It'll be a first place for Lars Fischer in the number 2 car at race number 2 here at Snetterton. The 5 stars have done the double here. Fischer takes it from Cooper, who rounds out the 5-star podium, I would say. Tom Griffiths rounds out the overall podium in 3rd place as well. Michael Seal ended up in 4th, with Luke Pullen winning the Pro-Am category in 5th place. Adam McNally in 6th, with Jamie Gulliford in 7th. Good race had by all, I would say, and a couple of drivers who I was wanting to keep an eye out on. Oh, this is the battle for the win in AMCAS victory. Between, I believe, that is Adam Fox and Leon Jenkins, and I think Adam Fox just about got that one ahead of Leon Jenkins. Really good driving there, though. It's a shame we... well, I say it's a shame. It's a bit of a shame that the driving at the front was so exciting. We didn't get to see more of it because that looked very interesting as they came across the line for the AM Class victory. Other drivers to be keeping a notable eye out on. The likes of Adam McNally did make it all the way back up to 6th. I read that out. Adam Delmont, after an early incident, fought his way back up to 10th. And Andy McEwen fought his way back up to 12th from last on the grid as well. Nick Clibbins ended up in 13th. But we'll give you all of the rundown in a couple of minutes' time. First of all, though, we have to go to that dreaded spinning wheel to see where the BSR MX5 Championship will get its reverse grid. And as they spin the wheel, James Sessford gives it a good old pull, and it go. Ooh, not going to be full reverse grid. Is it going to be 9? Is it going to be 10? It's going to be 9. Reese, a lovely small intimate reverse grid we've got here tonight.
Indeed, and I say it'll make it very, very interesting for race 3. Lars Fischer and Jason Cooper will be thinking, you know what, can we make it all the way back to the front again? You know, we saw Jason Cooper get to 2nd from P15. He's got to fancy his chances from P8 to the front. That being said, that top 9 is full. It's stacked of really strong drivers just there, and it won't be easy for him to pick his way through. I say, not spoiling it for you at all. I'm looking over at my timing screen and trying to figure out who'll be starting where in race 2. It should be a really, really interesting proposition. I think we'll have some results shortly. Hopefully I've not thrown production under the bus with that one. But say, when we do get a chance to have a look at it, we'll see just what the implications of that spinning wheel are, Jack.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't worry about throwing the production under the bus. Graham Sessford doesn't mind, you know that, Reese. It's all good. But yes, if you're wondering where we are in the evening, this is pretty much bang on halfway, actually, now. So we've had race 1, we've had race 2, we've had qualifying. We have race 3 and 4, and as I said, it'll be a top 9 reverse grid for that particular race 3. We'll have to keep an eye out on that one and see. But you're absolutely right. Without spoiling too much, it is absolutely packed full of talent, Reese. And to be honest, we always like to see a big reverse grid, but sometimes you just like the protagonists of the championship just to go at it, don't you, from the start, to try and sort it out amongst themselves and see what they can come up with.
Yeah, sometimes it's great to see the carnage, the chaos, the mystery that a reverse grid can bring when it's a full grid and you've got 25 cars swinging around. But then you get such a pace difference between the guys at the back and the guys at the front. That's where you have your accidents happening. It'll be a grand slam. It'll be a showdown. It'll be the quickest guys all starting in the top 10, top 12 places. I say I've had a sneak peek at what I think the grid is. It's going to be a spicy one for sure. But yeah, with Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer hopefully picking the way through. I'm actually just looking across at the YouTube chat. Mark Van Darden, he's just happy he's finished a race at this point. I don't think he murdered any teammates in this one, but we'll go back and check the replay. But here we are. Here's the podium, Jack.
Yeah, with Lars Fischer confirmed to be... Yeah, that is the right way around, sorry. Yeah, Lars Fischer confirmed to be on top, with Jason Cooper in 2nd and Tom Griffiths in 3rd. And you'll be able to see those 3 following Michael Seal, Luke Pullen in 4th. 5th is Adam McNally. Luke Pullen won the Pro-Am as well, by the way. Jamie Gulliford in 7th, Chris Warner in 8th, Lee Holmes in 9th. Lee Holmes will be on pole position. I almost forgot it. It's that smaller number. Normally, they have to go onto the second page. But Lee Holmes will be on pole, which means Lars Fischer will be starting 9th. And I would say, I would give you some favourites to be keeping an eye out on, but to be honest, pretty much all the favourites are already there, apart from Adam Delmont, who's in 10th place. Mark Van Dalen in 11th. Andy McEwen will be disappointed that it wasn't higher as well. He's in 12th. Nick Clibbins in 13th. Craig McDonald in 14th. 15th, Kip Stevens. 16th, James Neves. 17th, Paul Cook. Thor Tuller in 18th. Julian Schroer in 19th. 20th, Craig Schill. 21st, Adam Fox. 22nd, Leon Jenkins. 23rd, Mark Oliver. 24th, Fiona Siddons. 25th, Sam Smith. 26th, Glenn Humberstone. 2 laps down was 27th, Chris Dixon. Colin Sampson in 28th. Wayne Douglas in 29th, and rounding out the field is 30th place, Douglas Stewart. That's all 30 drivers for race number 2 here at Snetterton for the BSR MX5 Championship. We'll be back in a couple of minutes' time after we get yet another drink, get some more ice cubes in there, and hopefully refresh ourselves all for the exciting action that awaits us for race 3 here at the BSR MX5 Championship. Hello everybody and welcome back. You're just in time for race 3 here at Snetterton for the BSR MX5 Championship. Annoyingly, my computer is going even slower than it was before, so I haven't actually managed to get into the session yet, which is very, very annoying indeed. So, Reese, I'm going to do pretty much exactly the same as I did before, and put you and Graham under the bus here and ask you if you can take us through potentially some of the stats that we're seeing, especially with our championship leader. That's right, I'm putting you under the bus, and I'm stalling now to give you a second to get up those championship stats as well.
There we are, Graham Sussford, ever the professional in production. You're not going to catch him out like that. Adam Delmont still leading the championship, 125-point lead now, so stretching it by 4 points there in race 2. Andy McEwen just pulling away from Nick Clibbons, no longer a tie for second place on 999. Then Nick Clibbons in third, Jason Cooper fourth, Tom Griffiths fifth, Jamie Culliford still leading at Pro-Am category in P6, before Adam McNally in P7, Kip Stevens in 8th, and then our AM leader of Adam Fox in P9. Michael Seal is currently rounding out our top 10. I think we've got about 10 seconds to go of the practice session, and then we'll be gridding on up for race 3 of the evening. Jack, are you going to be in time, or shall I take us through the grid?
You need to take us through the grid, unfortunately. Reese, I can see you. I can see the screen in front of me, but my timing screen, because I'm not in this session, just doesn't fancy working for the time being. But race 2 was an exciting one. We've had two winners, two different winners, both from the same teammate though. 5-star, obviously, Jason Cooper, Lars Fischer. Small reverse grid, top 9 have been reversed. Are you expecting to see them push forward fairly quickly and fight between themselves potentially?
We are indeed, yes. I'm actually going to run us through the grid now because we've got about 40 seconds till race start for race 3. So Lee Holmes benefiting from that reverse grid. He's starting on pole. Chris Warner in P2 with Jamie Gulliford in P3. We've then got Adam McNally in P4, Luke Pullen in P5, and Michael Seal riding out the third row in P6. Tom Griffiths is currently in P7 with Jason Cooper in P8 and Lars Fischer in P9 with Adam Delmont rounding out our top 7, our championship leader. We've then got Mark van Dalen in 11th, McEwen in 12th, before Clibbons and McDonald in 13th and 14th, Stevens and Neve in 15th and 16th, Cook and Tuller in 17th and 18th, and it's Julian Schroer in P19 and Craig Schill rounding out our top 20. Hopefully cameras will switch on over because we're about to get some lights and we'll be underway here for race 3 in any moment. Now I can hear engine notes rising. We've not got any pictures just yet, so here we go. Oh, there we are. We have got pictures. So it's a great start there from Lee Holmes, as I say, pulling on away nicely. He's got Chris Warner in second place behind him just there, and all clear. All single file actually heading on down to the start, just say. It looks like we've lost a few drivers now. Only 27 taking the start here in race 3. But yeah, Lee Holmes clean and away. Warner second, Gulliford third, Pullen in 4th, and then Seal in 5th. And we can see, all very, very well behaved here. Cooper's up to 6th, Fisher's up to 7th. So again, drivers doing very well that they've already picked up spots up. And we've got Carnage. I've spoke too soon. We've got Carnage. We've got Cars Round. Potentially Mark van Dalen involved there. Yeah, he's currently shown as P28. As I say, in his Team Rice car just there. You've got Fiona Siddons in P28 involved as well. Looks like Andy McEwen caught up too. He's in P4. He's in P20 in Carnage before. So an absolute disaster there for Andy McEwen. And again, Adam Delmont will be rubbing his hands together in P8 thinking, well, hey, some more championship points for me, please.
Yeah, it hasn't been Andy's night, really, has it? Let's focus a little bit further forward, though, for the time being. Lee Holmes still leading, Chris Warner and Jamie Gulliford, as they were, actually, off the start line. Luke Pullen in 4th, Tom Griffiths in 5th, Jason Cooper in 6th, Lars Fischer in 7th, and I believe we just had potentially a driver off, and indeed we have. Luke Pullen flies off the circuit and, just committed a little bit too much speed there, potentially. And now has dropped just into 9th place. It seems to be a nice big gap, actually, between Michael Seal and Craig McDonald that Luke Pullen has managed to put himself into. Chris Warner and Lee Holmes are actually fighting for position into Brundle and Nelson. As we see Luke Pullen actually having a little bit of a massive curb hit going into Nelson now, I believe. I thought McDonald actually had a similar thing, but they're going to lunge each other going into bomb hole, which is a bit of a dangerous thing to do, I would say. The two AM-class drivers, but they seem to have managed to just about hold on to the cars for the time being. No big spillages, no big messes clear up just yet. The top 3 are still as they were, but Tom Griffiths, Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer have made up 3 places. They're in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. Well, Adam Delmont, sorry, in 7th place. Obviously, championship leader. He'll be a driver hoping to just mitigate the bad race that he had in race 2 as well. So good driving by him.
Very good driving by Adam Delmont as well. And yeah, just everyone's doing pretty well and pretty happy. It's a very stable top 10 at the moment. We've got Jamie Gulliford already rubbing his hands together thinking, you know what, I've got this Pro-Am win in the bag and I'll be extending my championship lead in that class too. Let's say very, very stable so far. We did see Chris Warner getting alongside Lee Holmes on the run down the Bentley Straight on lap 1. He's 6 tenths back at the moment, so it might be a little bit too far back to do anything on this lap so far. So Lee Holmes stabilising that gap just there. Let's say we'll be keeping an eye on these 5-star cars, because I think they'll be the ones to watch moving on through. Jason Cooper is less than 2 seconds off the lead. We've seen how rapid he's been all night. He's got to be thinking, you know what, from here, this race is highly, highly winnable.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see how he dictates this race. Whether he just takes it by the scruff of the neck and just decides, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to get past these guys. Or whether he thinks, you know what, I'm going to use Tom Griffiths. Maybe see if there's a mistake out there. Maybe try and take advantage. Just allow Fischer to hold up the likes of Belmont and Seal behind him and see if he can just be patient with this one here. But we'll have to wait and see. He's already... I don't think he's showing much intent there, but a driver who is showing a lot of intent is Adam Delmont, getting past Cooper's teammate and race 2 winner, Lars Fischer. Good driving there by Delmont, used the slipstream, just nicely carried on through. Didn't look like Fischer actually held up much of a fight there.
No, it seems to be happy to let the position rotate there. As we can see, Craig McDonald tumbling, plummeting down the order. He's currently shown as P22, so he must have made a mistake there. We can see some smoke as he's rejoined. He's got to be careful, doesn't want to get in anyone's way as he's getting back up to speed just there. He's got the 67 just behind him there of Colin Sansom. Not mentioned Colin yet tonight, but say he's had a steady and consistent night. Just there, as I said, diving through Coram. Now, Sansom obviously running year 1 paint scheme. He's got to be careful because there's Mark van Dalen. And I was just about to say, Mark van Dalen in the Spitfire scheme here at Snetterton at the airfield circuit. He's got a reputation for hitting teammates. And as I say that, he's whacked Colin Sansom from behind on the way into Murray's. So, yeah, Mark van Dalen. We're going to give him turrets for next week, guys, I think. But, yeah, he's showing no mercy. Friendly fire or not. As he's sending it through Richards just there. But, yeah, still Holmes from Warner at the front of our field with Jamie Culliford in P3.
Adam McNally hasn't taken the start, it just occurred to me. So Adam McNally, one of the drivers we often expect to see right at the front of the field, he hasn't even taken to the track at all so far in this race. He did join into the server, but it'll be a DNF for him. DNS, even potentially. Chris Warner, Lee Holmes and Jamie Gulliford. That's second, first and third that I've just read out in that order, rather confusingly. But Lee Holmes in first, Chris Warner in second, Jamie Gulliford in third are still as they were off the start line. We've had 2.5, 3 laps nearly. A good 5.5 minutes of this race gone. And the top 3 doing well, Reese. And in fact, Lee Holmes actually looks like he's pulling away slightly here. Jamie Gulliford, we've seen around the top 5, top 10. But look just behind him. And Tom Griffiths is having to defend for Jason Cooper. And look at Adam Delmont trying to pull up and have a little bit of a go here. Jason Cooper on the inside into Brundle and Nelson. Can Griffiths hold around the outside? Is going to be late on the brakes. Do they hit the curb? No. Do they go off the circuit? No. Fantastic driving by the two of them. Really good racing respect, I'd say. Going through bomb hole, it is Jason Cooper's position ahead of Tom Griffiths. I don't think Tom Griffiths could really do anything else about that. Brilliant racing.
No, he did absolutely everything he could, fairly and within the rules. And Jason Cooper, sensational move. A lot of trust there from him with Tom Griffiths. Obviously, races MX5s in real life. I say, just it's a sensational move there from him. Around the outside of Brundle. The inside Brundle around the outside of Nelson. And he's, say, up to P4 now. And hopefully going to chase down our podium drivers and give us more and more action. As we can see, Jamie Gulliford now starting to pressure Chris Warner for P2. Again, Jamie Gulliford, I don't think anyone's told him he's a Pro-Am either, because he's all over the back of the Pro car of Chris Warner here in that Syntec Racing 597 car.
Yeah, he's got a problem though, because all of a sudden now Cooper's been released by Griffiths. There's going to be no stopping him, hunting down these third, second and first positions, I would say. I wouldn't be surprised if we see yet another 5-star victory, and it's the second of the night for Jason Cooper. Tom Griffiths and Adam Delmont will be desperate to try and stop that happening, particularly Adam Delmont, because he hasn't had a particularly brilliant night, I don't think, as the Excite driver. I'm just trying to have a look. He hasn't really extended his lead ahead of Andy McEwen or Nick Clibbins, but neither of those drivers have had a particularly enjoyable night either. So Jason Cooper's been the big gainer. He's up 4 points for the championship, and just ahead of Tom Griffiths. Is 145 points 145 points behind Adam Delmont. Now all of a sudden, even though Cooper missed, I believe, 2 races at Brands Hatch, he's right back there, in with a fight, in with a chance with the championship, and that's got to be playing on a few of these drivers' minds.
Yeah, he's going to hopefully double up on championships potentially here. And so you can just see the speed he's took there. That's literally just chomping his way through. At practice, paying off for him. And yeah, really strong. I don't like talking about Jason Cooper overtaking cars as a foregone conclusion, but it's looking like it's hard to argue with right now, Jack. He's so strong as he almost catches the back of Jamie there into Murray's. Yeah, it won't take long now, I don't think.
Difficult corner is Coram, really, because you sort of feel like you should be forever getting onto the power, then off the power, then onto the power, understeering, oversteering, and trying to find your braking zone as well. It's very, very difficult. I always used to find that if you just send as much speed into it as possible, and then you just lift off and coast, and wait for your braking zone, really. It was a little bit slower, but it was a lot more consistent. That was in real life in the Ginetta G40. They are very similar cars to the MX5s, but obviously this is a sim race, and you can be a bit more ambitious in a sim race. You don't have to pay for any mistakes that you might make. At the moment, though, the top 3 still as they were, and I say that because it is fairly impressive, Reese, isn't it? The fact that in a reverse grid, especially a small reverse grid like this, we would have expected that they would have jumbled themselves up, or other people may have come in and taken advantage. But really, we said coming out of race 2 that the top 9 are full of drivers we want to see fighting it out wheel to wheel and door to door, and that's what we're seeing. We're not seeing drivers just car through and pull away. That speed differential that you quite often see in reverse grids is not necessarily there as much, is it?
No, not at all. And it's just the best of the best duking it out at the front of the field right now. Jason Cooper, though, he set a 2:04.9 in that last lap. Now I think his pole position time was a 2:05.7, so he's absolutely smashed that out of the park. Obviously he's had a bit of draft along the way, but I'm not going to say that it was a draft lap at all. That was a very, very quick lap from him, and he's going to be all over Jamie Gulliford here as we head on down into, just looking around the outside of Nelson. Not going to be room there, but maybe he can set something up through bomb hole just here. Not quite, and as I say, the issue he's going to have now is we're going to get 3 laps to go as we hit the line. Lee Holmes controlling the race so far. It's not built to get 3 laps to go. Cooper's now got 3 cars to overtake in 3 laps if he wants to win this. So he's been very collected, very calm, and picking cars off one at a time. But he now really does have to do 1 car a lap, otherwise he won't be winning this race.
Long laps though, aren't they? There's every possibility, but look at Tom Griffiths. Look at the speed he's going to have. He's already looking to the inside, comes out of the draft, sides better of it for the time being, probably wisely, because it is a very quick corner. Look at the run though, he got through apex number 1. Didn't quite make apex 2, but actually Cooper went a little bit wide, and look at the late lunge as well, last late breakers. To be fair, there's a little bit of a nudge there, Reese, but I think Cooper was a bit caught out there, and Tom Griffiths goes through.
Yeah, it was a brave and strong move there, but these cars have doors, and sometimes you need to use them. Yeah, not what we expected. Tom Griffiths getting back past Jason Cooper, ripping up the form book so far for the evening. Now puts an extra car between Cooper and the lead. You've got to think Lee Holmes has now got to be looking back and thinking, you know what, I've got half a chance here. The gap's starting to build a little bit. It's 2 seconds, or just under 2 seconds from Cooper back to the lead as well. So it's looking great, as I say. The field's starting to compress as we come into turn 6 for the important run through 7 onto the back straight. And again, we've seen it time and time again tonight as the field does start to compress, especially in this mid part of the lap. Sometimes incidents do happen. Hopefully it won't. Hopefully we won't have any chaos. Hopefully we won't have any carnage. But as I say, we're charging on down. Almost 2 laps to go now, Jack.
Yeah, it looks like a move at the inside of Bundle and Nelson, though. Is that Jason Cooper to go through? Oh, my days. There's a lot of speed being taken through on the apex there. I think that's Adam Delmont, isn't it, actually? Unfortunately, with the camera angle, it's a bit pixelated, and I can't actually see who we're looking at. They all just look like white cars to me. There we go. It's actually Lars Fischer and Adam Delmont, isn't it? My apologies if I got that wrong. Lars Fischer crowbarring an opportunity open there on our championship leader. Going to be very ambitious to try and go around the outside there. In fact, he lets Delmont back into position, probably wisely. Hopefully he'll get a good run from his perspective anyway, on towards Ritchie's. Holmes, Warner, Gulliford still the way with 2 laps to go. 3 laps to go? I thought it was about to be 2 laps. It is 2 laps to go. It is 2 laps to go. So we're on the penultimate lap. 4 minutes of this race remaining for the top 3 to hold on to that position. Griffiths ahead of Cooper will be a big plus point for the likes of Jamie Gulliford, Chris Warner and Lee Holmes, of course. And as they blink in and out of existence, that is, well, Chris Warner will still be there, I think. He's just, unless he's just fully disconnected, which would be, I can't believe it. I think he has actually fully disconnected. That's absolutely heartbreaking. That's something you don't see in real life racing. I can't believe it. I'm actually really disappointed from Chris Warner. He has just fully disconnected out of the server. I think maybe his PC decided to give the ghost up. Maybe his internet did. Maybe the servers are having a little bit of a problem. Or if apparently, if he lives anywhere near Graham Sessford, who's producing, it's probably going to be the thunderstorm that's raging over Silverstone at the moment. Well, it's virtual Snetterton. You don't really get that idea, but that is absolutely heartbreaking for the second place man. Lee Holmes still leads. Jamie Gulliford has inherited second. Tom Griffiths has inherited third place now, with Jason Cooper now fighting for a podium position with him.
As we head on back and have a look in our AM category, you'll remember we had that really exciting, almost a photo finish between Adam Fox and Leon Jenkins in race 2. We've not had a chance to look back through the pack because of how tight it's been at the front, but it looks like they're teeing themselves up for another great finish in AM. Still Adam Fox leading away from Leon Jenkins. I know Leon Jenkins has got some fantastic support in the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat as well. So I say I'm sure he'll be getting cheered on with some fan power there. Half a second between the 2 cars in AM. Looks like Jamie Culliford's got Pro-Am all wrapped up. He's got 10 spots over Fortulla, who's in P12 overall, and second in class in Pro-Am. As we come around to get our white flag, little white flag fever setting in. Possibly even Chris Warner's PC overheating would have been, depending on where he's in the country. Might dictate. Oh, it's Leon Jenkins getting on the grass on the exit of Murray's and very, very nearly finding the Armco on the inside there. I'm sure that raised his blood pressure a little bit more than he'd have liked. That's given Adam Fox a little bit of breathing room as we head into our final lap. It's still Holmes, half a second on Gulliford, but Jason Cooper on that last lap has got through on Tom Griffiths and he's now in the 8 tenths off the lead. Could it be an unlikely victory from what we thought a couple of laps ago, or would he have to settle for third? We'll find out over the course of about the next 90 seconds or so, Jack, as we head down into Agostini.
Yep, with Cooper on the outside of Gulliford, and look at Tom Griffiths. He's desperately trying to wedge himself up the inside yet again, going into Hamilton's. Gulliford will know that's a very tricky overtaking position. It has been done once before so far in the, well, tonight basically. Really, where he's going to have a problem, Gulliford, is going into Bundle and Nelson. If you're Lee Holmes, at this point, all you have to do is make sure you don't miss an apex and you don't miss a braking zone. You don't have to worry about defending because Gulliford is doing all the defending for you. Gulliford, I imagine, will stick in the middle of the road. He's gone quite far over to the right. I think he's leaving a door open here, potentially, for Jason Cooper. And if we're on board with Jason Cooper, yes, indeed we are. He is going at the inside of a blinking Jamie Gulliford. This is going to be an absolute nightmare for Tom Griffiths specifically, because he won't have a clue where Jamie Gulliford is. Cooper goes up the inside and gets past him fairly easily. I say easily, it was a good move, but it looked easy because he didn't get hit off by a blinking Jamie Gulliford. And he's having real problems here, just like Chris Warner maybe did a couple of times ago. Dropping maybe outside the top 5. Adam Delmont's gotten up ahead of him. He's up to 4th. But the man of the hour is Lee Holmes, who will be the 3rd victor of 3 so far today here at Snetterton for the BSR MX5 Championship. The number 35 comes across the line, takes the checkered flag ahead of Jason Cooper, who's on the podium for the 3rd time Tom Griffiths on the podium for what I believe is the first time this evening. Adam Delmont maybe rescued a few points back there ahead of the likes of McEwen and a few other drivers there as well. But Jamie Gulliford takes the Pro-Am victory, Lars Fischer in 6th. And you have to look all the way down to 13th place to have a look at the Am Class victor, Adam Fox. Bit of a shame that Jenkins really chucked it off almost on the exit of Murray's on going on to that final lap, because we could have been down to a grandstand finish like we were before. But a great drive by all involved there. Fantastic racing, and glad to be a bit of part of it. Drivers there parking up on the outside of turn 2. We'll be going to the spinning. Well, there we go, actually. All of a sudden, it's appeared as if by magic by Graham Sessford. And as we give it a little bit of a pull, there we go. I thought I timed that better than I did. We'll be able to see who's going to have. Oh, is it going to be top 9? Is it going to be top 10? It's going to be top 10. So, not quite the smallest, but really not far off the smallest. Top 10 reverse grid race. Again, to be honest, if it serves up something like we've just seen, I'm all here for it.
Again, we'll have best of the best duking it out at the front of the grid. I've not even checked my timing screens for a sneak peek this time, so I don't know who's on. You've just done that. I saw your eyes dart off to your left. I'm not sure who's going to be on our reverse grid poll, but if it's anything like race 3, it's going to be an absolute belter. Some small reverse grids tonight, which might have impacted a few people more than others. As I say, we are starting to get to the business end of the night. 3 races down, 1 more to go. What do you think so far, Jack?
I think it's been a good time of it so far. To be honest, normally I'm looking forward to massive reverse grids, and it's because obviously from a spectator's point of view, you like to see, it's almost that NASCAR effect, I like to call it, where you're almost waiting for the incident so you can have a few more race winners and everything like that. But to be honest, that race with Lee Holmes, Chris Warner was involved as well, because of course, don't forget, he got disconnected. Jamie Gulliford and everything like that, they were pound for pound as quick as the likes of Tom Griffiths, Jason Cooper, and the fact that they weren't quite as slow as normal reverse grid pole positions meant that actually Jason Cooper had to fight a lot harder, because Tom Griffiths getting held up, Jason was getting held up, Adam Delmont was invited into the mix as well, who started outside the top 9. So yeah, I'm all here for it, to be honest, and we'll be able to bring you the full rundown. And remember, the top 10 will be fully reversed as well, so keep that in mind. Top 10. In fact, here we go. Here is the podium positions. Lee Holmes took home the top step, Jason Cooper in 2nd, and Tom Griffiths in 3rd. And there you can see the rest of the order. Adam Delmont in 4th, Jamie Gulliford in 5th, Lars Fischer in 6th. 7th was Michael Seal, Andy McEwen in 8th, Sam Smith in 9th, and will be on pole position. And in fact, year 1 pretty much locking out the top 2 rows for race number 4. James Neve will be on pole, Sam Smith in 2nd, Andy McEwen in 3rd, and Michael Seal will be 4th. 11th is Kip Stevens, Thor Tuller in 12th. Adam Fox takes home the Am Class victory in 13th. Leon Jenkins in 14th. Nick Clibbins in 15th. Craig Schill in 16th. 17th, Craig McDonald. Douglas Stewart in 18th. 19th, Julian Schroer, with 20th being Luke Bullen. Paul Cook in 21st. 22nd, Mark Van Dalen. 23rd, Colin Sansom. 24th, Mark Oliver. 25th, Fiona Siddons. Scoring the last point of the race 3 is Chris Dixon, who ended up only 1 lap down, amazingly. 27th, Chris Warner. 28th, Glenn Humberstone, and Adam McNally is in 29th. 30th was no one, because they only had 29 drivers in that particular race. Adam McNally didn't even take the start. Right. It's about that time that we go to one last break. It will be the final break of the evening, however. Time to get the doors open, the windows open, let everything cool down just a touch for the next 8 minutes. So please don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second. Hello and welcome back for the final time this evening. And luckily, I thought my computer was about to die. Finally, a worthy death. But it's actually loaded me into the session this time, which is delightful. So, Reese, do you want to do your stats? I mean, you by all means, take it away. You've been doing such a good job. Yeah, you're giving a nod. Go ahead. What have you got for us?
I'd love to. So first off, we've got some championship standings for you here. And by the way, Jack, if you did want to blame the heat for your computer, that's A-OK with me. We've got Adam Delmont still leading the championship from Andy McEwen. We've then got Jason Cooper in P3, Nick Clibbens in 4th, and Tom Griffiths in 5th. And then we've got Jamie Gulliford in P6 for Year 1 TV. P6 is very good, but what he'll be more bothered about is winning the Pro-Am category, which is doing a fair old canter at the moment. And I think we've got a bit of an in-depth look at some stats for him just here. So currently P6 overall, but as we said, P1 in class. 963 championship points, 15 starts, not showing any wins, but that's in overall standings. Actually, he's been dominating. He's been absolutely rollicking away with it in Pro-Am, winning a couple of races pretty much every week. And we can have a look at his race positions, and you'll see not the greatest of starts for him at Donington, but then as we start to get to Brands Hatch, he had a P6 and a P4 there, mixed in with a DNF. We've also got a P7 and a P5 overall for him at Silverstone too. And then he's having a good night tonight, 3 top 10s so far. And he'll be starting middle of the top 10 again for race 4, and he'll be hoping to pretty much finish where he started from here. He's had a great night of it, and he's had a great championship so far. He'll be hoping that he can hold out for the Pro-Am win, and he's shown already so far this season that he can mix it with the pros, because he'll be getting promoted at the end of the season if he manages to hold on to this. He's got 8 class wins so far in Pro-Am. Out of his 15 starts, that's a win percentage of over 50%, which shows just how dominant he's been. We've talked about it at the front of the field, but it's glad that I've been able to shed some light on the job Jamie Gulliford's doing here in Pro-Am. We're about 30 seconds away now from the field gridding up, Jack. What are your predictions for race 4?
Well, I mean, there's absolutely no real reason why we shouldn't expect the same from race 4 as we did from race 3. Due to the fact that the reverse grid will be, it's a 10 reverse grid instead of a 9. Very similar, though. Very quickly, before we get into that, we're just going to flash up the calendar. There we go. We're off to Monza next week. Now, the reason I kept saying it was Monza this week for the BSR MX5 Championship is because I commentate on a series on Wednesday night that we were at Monza last week. So I do apologise. I got them mixed up. But we are going to Monza next week for round 5. Knockhill, Alton Park, Donington Park, Silverstone and Brands Hatch will round out the rest of the season. A fantastic looking calendar. I think everybody will agree. I don't think anybody can really argue with any of those circuits that we've got there. And Monza is going to be interesting into turn 1. Knockhill will be interesting for the entire circuit. And the rest of the field will know pretty much everything there is to know about the rest of the tracks, to be honest, because they've been there an awful lot. Right, grid, race 4. James Neve on pole position, having finished 10th in race 2, 3 even. Sam Smith in 2nd place, Andy McEwen in 3rd, with Michael Seal rounding out the top 2 rows. Lars Fisher in 5th, Jamie Gulliford in 6th, 7th Adam Delmont, 8th Tom Griffiths, Jason Cooper in 9th, rounding out the top 10 Lee Holmes, 11th Kip Stevens and Thor Tulliver in 12th. 13th, Adam Fox, Leon Jenkins in 14th. 15th, Nick Clibbens. 16th is Craig Schill. 17th, Craig McDonald. 18th, Douglas Stewart. Julian Schroer in 19th. Luke Pullen in 20th. 21st, Mark Van Darlen. 22nd, Colin Sampson. 23rd, Mark Oliver. 24th, Fiona Siddons. Chris Dixon in 25th. And 26th is Glenn Humberstone. I do apologise if I read that off a little bit quick, but that's because the lights are very unpredictable. They can happen at any point in 2 minutes. Lights are on. The engine notes rise. And for the final time here this evening, we are racing with James Neve on pole position. A committed Andy McEwen going to the inside there on Sam Smith. And we're just behind him, his teammate Michael Seal as well, trying to fend off any fight from the 5-star teams behind. McEwen already up into P2 ahead of Sam Smith. And it's the year 1 teammate. It's going to be really hard to say in 1 and 2 at the moment. McEwen already going for the move into P1 though. Is he just trying to fend off the Excite driver of Sam Smith? Potentially. I did think he had ambitions there in trying to overtake his teammate. They shouldn't fall over each other. They have any ambition of one of them winning this race. Although I'm sure the Excite driver in 3rd place, I'm very keen to try and put a stop to that. In fact, Sam Smith, it looks like he's got an absolutely awesome run. May well be on the inside. Are they going to make it 3 wide into Agostini? McEwen has his nose shut ahead. But will he have the inside car ahead? Yes, he does. James Neve hits the brakes and slots into second place. Well, just basically losing out on McEwen. Michael Seal around the outside of Sam Smith as well as they go towards Hamilton's. They're not quite too wide, but there's a little bit of contact further back. McEwen, Neve, Seal, the top three. All three Year 1 drivers, they haven't had the best of evenings. I don't think they'll really say that they have enjoyed visiting Snetterton this time round. If they can finish it off with a win, though, I'm sure they won't mind one bit. James Neve, I'm sure, will have a really good run down towards Brundle and Nelson as we focus a little bit further back on another Year 1 car. But this one, I believe, is Jamie Gulliford in 9th place in between Jason Cooper in 10th and Lee Holmes in 8th.
Yes, it looks like Jason Cooper's made it through on the inside as we head into Brundle. Up into P9 now for him, so he's not made much ground here on lap 1. And we've got that Year 1, 2, 3 happening at the front. Speaking to Andy McEwen in post-race interviews, he's talked already this season about how important it is having rear gunners, having teammates behind him that can hold off charging cars. It's looking like they've played this one to perfection because we know the 5-star cars are quick. We know they'll be coming through, but Andy's got a whole squadron of teammates behind him, keeping him safe from the cars behind.
It's important, this result, really, isn't it, for his championship's sake? I mean, he hasn't been put out of his second place, but it hasn't exactly. He's been caught up significantly going into this race. He's only 2 points ahead of Jason Cooper, who's been on a storm, hasn't he, so far this evening? So this could be a big plus point for Andy McEwen. Apologies, my computer again is being a little bit slow, and to be honest, so am I with the heat. So I do apologise if I start stuttering. It's just my computer moving to play. The 27 of Sam Smith is getting all kinds of loose there. Reece Lowe, he's very much struggling, isn't he? He's getting hung out to dry, I believe, by Adam Delmont, who again, a good job in this race for trying to rescue some points.
Adam Delmont, he's just been very, very consistent all evening, as he has been all championship. We talked about he's not got the most race wins by any stretch of the imagination, but what he has got is just consistent top 10s, top 5s, jumping on the podium when the opportunity arises, and that's just cultivating points and points and points for him. And he's got a pretty strong lead so far, and he'll be happy as we approach Monza, as we approach our foreign round of the championship. He'll be happy with a lead he'll be hopefully taking, should nothing go too far wrong in the final 11 minutes of this race just here. Jamie Gulliford still leading the way in Prime. He's not had the best of starts to race 4, but he's in P10. Adam Fox, though, again leading AM, and he's got Mark Van Dalen in between him and Leon Jenkins for AM. As we see one of the 5-star cars go off, that's actually Jason Cooper. Everyone, it's some point in July. Make a note of the time and date because Jason Cooper has just made a mistake. You don't see that often at all from our reigning champion. Back down to P11, he's now got Kip Stevens in front of him. Kip's had a quiet night so far. He's not been involved in any instance from what we've seen, but he's made it up to top 10 right here, and he'll be happy with that, I'm sure. Seasoned veteran campaigner that he is, Jack.
Yeah, no, I think I always enjoy watching Kip Stevens, and hopefully he'll continue to entertain us. That's for sure. As we get nearly 10 minutes to go, focusing on a couple of drivers. Is that Sam Smith still? It's in fifth. In fact, it's Nick Clibbins. Actually, my apologies. All the way down in 19th place. Sure, what happened to Nick Clibbins, but it's not been a particularly enjoyable race from his perspective, I don't think. Remember, he was on the podium in race 1 earlier this evening, and it's not really gone his way ever since then. It's amazing how that can happen, but 4 races in the space of about 2.5 hours is an awfully long time to race, isn't it? And if fortunes can flip very quickly, Reece.
I felt the effort in the commentary box tonight. I am very, very warm. I had a quick shower just before it started. I think I'll be straight back in the shower after it's finished as well. It's been hot and bothersome in the studio tonight, and I can't imagine what it's like actually trying to drive and race on these virtual Mazdas around Snetterton. Cessford's complaining in my ear, actually apparently sat in a conservatory right now, but he's got rain, so surely it must be a bit cooler for him, so he should. I was
going to say, he can just go and step outside, can't he, realistically, and get a shower. Although he says it's 27 degrees, he just likes complaining, doesn't he? Fiona Siddons just up ahead there. Now, who is Fiona ahead of? Craig Schill getting a little bit loose on the rear end, I believe. Looked like there was going to be an overtaking opportunity, but Craig Schill, unfortunately, throwing the rear end out a little bit loose means it didn't quite happen going into Brundle and Nelson. The Craig Schill, actually, the teammate of... Oh, that's a big hit. Fiona Siddons on the curb there. Adam Fox, now I've just heard an oh no in my ear. Adam Fox, why is that an oh no? It's potentially because Van Dalen isn't ahead of him. And that's not me. That's not me. I'm hearing Graham Sesford, who's basically co-commentating in our ears right now, isn't he, Reece? Trying to find out where all the incidents might happen. Adam Fox hunkered up behind of Van Dalen, who's been in the wars, let's say, so far tonight.
Indeed, Graham Sesford. I think he's running multi-roles tonight, actually. He's running the role of broadcaster and production expert. Also, as well, he's running the role of Year 1 team manager. And every time he sees Mark Van Dalen elect a teammate, we can hear him shaking his head in our ears. And he's seeing him battling our AM leader right now, thinking, oh God, no, not again. But it looks like they're keeping it nice and safe. Matt Van Dalen, the Dutchman, running the 33 as a tribute to Max Verstappen. I know he's very happy with that, but we've still got Year 1 and 2, but not Year 1, 2, 3 anymore. Adam Delmont made his way up to third, ahead of Michael Seal. So Adam D. McEwen has lost one of his rear gunners so far. Well, there's a car between him and one of his rear gunners. I'm sure Michael Seal will continue to defend away. I'm not sure Michael Seal's that bothered about defending for his teammate. I'm sure he'll just be thinking, I'd quite like to finish on the podium myself. But at the moment, Adam Delmont's got that final podium spot with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, Michael Seal's actually done quite well. He's jumped up 5 positions in the championship so far tonight in just the 3 races. So he's back into the top 10. He's in 9th now in the championship. Scoring points off a championship leader like Adam Delmont would only help his argument as well. But to be honest, Delmont hasn't been lightning quick, has he, so far today? I wouldn't say he's been the standout speed-wise. That would obviously go down to Jason Cooper and potentially Lars Fischer, and they're still behind Michael Seal. And if they can continue to keep him behind for the next 2 laps or so, I think McEwen could probably start just thinking about the checkered flag and just making sure he hits his braking zones rather than having to worry behind. I gave out a little sort of puff of air earlier on, a little bit of an ooh moment, because I saw Leon Jenkins spinning around the 3rd corner, unfortunately. And look at the battle for the race lead, though, actually, as we... Oh, there we go. There's back to the race lead. Delmont, I said, doesn't have the overall pace. Doesn't need it. He's already there. He's already fighting with James Neve. He's already fighting with McEwen. And as they go into the... Oh, that's a big snap movement from James Neve going into the hairpin, the 2nd corner. And that is really going to hurt McEwen now, because all of a sudden a championship leader on his tail, he'll be desperate to try and claw some points back. And James Neve throwing it away somewhat there, wasn't he? He just looked like he outbroke himself.
Car's moving around in the braking zone, and yet James Neve just runs wide, so close to wiping his teammate out. Graham Sesford, audible gasps in my ear. It could have all very well gone wrong. This is what we want to see as we go back to our live picture. You've got Delmont versus McEwen. You've got P2 versus P1 in the championship for the race win here at Race 4. This is what those small reverse grids do tend to give us, and I'm looking forward to this. It'll be blockbuster, and both of these drivers will know if we finish P1 and 2, that's great. If we don't finish the race, however, or if my championship rival doesn't finish the race, it can potentially be a big swing. So we'll see what they do aggression-wise. They're both seasoned campaigners. We can see the wipers going on Delmont as they're charging on down to Brundle. Delmont goes to the outside. He'll have the inside from Nelson if he can hold it out there. Not quite. Oh, almost bumper to bumper there. But Andy McEwen, last of the late breakers, staying ahead. We'll be running through the bomb hole. Almost 3 laps to go now. And Jack, I can't wait to see how this one pans out.
Smart driving, I would say, there by Adam Delmont, wasn't it? He just sort of... He made Andy McEwen think about it. He's given him something to think about. But he decided to take the slightly safer option and just dive into that 2nd place. Think, you know what, 4 laps to go, soon to be 3 laps to go, but that's plenty of time. It's about 6 minutes, actually, when you think about it, to be able to make a move. And there are various places you can make a move here. Speaking of making a move, I think Lars Fischer is having a quick look at James Neve In fact, just in the background there, behind the timing tower, I can see that that's the case. Fisher trying to go around the outside, Neve holding on to the position for now. Griffiths fighting with Fisher. We've seen Griffiths fight plenty of times before with the 5-star car so far tonight. I don't think he's seen really the doors or the wing mirrors of Lars Fisher just yet. It was mainly his teammate, actually. But Fisher slides his way quite efficiently, I would argue, up the inside of James Neve there, the Year 1 driver, who's seeing his race sort of not fall apart completely, but maybe not go the way he was hoping for when he was sat in second place and pressuring McEwen for the race win.
Fortunately, I've got more bad news for James Neve as well. Not only has he got Tom Griffiths right with him, looking up the inside towards Hamilton, actually, not quite close enough to do that, but he's then also got Jason Cooper just behind as well, so it might go from bad to worse for James Neve. He's got a row of killers just behind him who are electrifying with pace, and that's not a point for Graham Tessford's weather situation. Adam Delmont, though, 2/10 of a second behind Andy McEwen as they come out of Williams. 3 laps to go. Again, he's going to get a big, long tow down the runway here, down the Bentley Straight, towards Brundle, towards Nelson. Again, he'll be on the outside for Brundle. Andy McEwen's quite tight into the corner there, and it looks like he's going to have the inside now for Nelson. They bump Dahl. Oh, and Andy McEwen stays ahead with that Dahl bump just there. It looks like Adam Delmont didn't quite get to the apex, and that lets Michael Seal potentially can come through and seal second place just there. Lars Fisher in P4 though has got other ideas. He's going to try and get the inside in Coram, the long, ever tightening right-hander. You don't know whether to accelerate or brake. They bump doors as well. Everyone's using their doors tonight. If you know anybody that can pull themselves some MX5 doors, we will make a killing here at Snetterton tonight. As we cross the line with 2 laps to go, it's still McEwen from Delmont, Seal, and then Fisher at top 4.
Yep, and exactly what we've just seen is the reason why Janetta love racing at Snetterton so much in real life. They absolutely love it when a door gets banged or something like that, or the hinges of the front bonnets get ripped off or something like that. Lars Fisher flying around the outside of Ritchie's though, and potentially sealing Michael's fate here. It's going to be a bit unfortunate if this ends in contact, but it doesn't at the moment. In fact, Fisher runs really wide. Look at Tom Griffiths getting a half-decent run. Adam Delmont up the inside of McEwen as well. Going into the race lead is Adam Delmont. They're pretty much neck and neck. Coming out of the corner and going towards Agostini, though, it's the 77 who's going to be on the inside. The Excite car will have the run on McEwen here. This has been 2 or 3 laps in the making, and the championship leader slots his way ahead of the second place man in the championship. The Year 1 leading driver of Andy McEwen. Michael Seal in 3rd. And going into Hamilton's, Delmont has the position. McEwen goes a little bit wide. He'll line up the move going towards Brundle and Nelson. That'll be the next thing in his mind, but he'll be hoping that his teammates can hold off the charge of a fighting 5-star for Fisher in 4th place. There's a lot of F's in there. I didn't even mean to try and do that. It just ended up getting a bit tongue-tied. Going on to the back straight, and actually look at that. Delmont's got a really good run, and doesn't look like he's under threat at all from McEwen. Just behind, though, James Neve is Jason Cooper. So, Excite, 5-star, Year 1, 2 laps to go. You couldn't ask for more here at Snetterton. As Cooper goes up the inside of James Neve. He'll be on the outside for the right-hander, and he's gone and got it as well.
It's absolute blockbuster action here for the final race of the MX5s. It's reached a crescendo. I'm going to need a cold shower and a lie down after this. Almost 100%. Lars Fisher all over Michael Seal for the final podium place. A little bit of a gap built now between Seal and McEwen. So McEwen hopefully going to keep hold of P2. But you never know. Tucked up in the draft behind Adam Delmont. Can you make something happen in the final lap? All it will take is one small, a micro mistake from Adam Delmont, and it will be all to play for here. We can see the gap tumbling down to below 3/10, just down the start-finish straight just there. They go through Riches for the final time. And yet Adam Delmont's still leading on the run down to Montreal now. Hard braking. Looks like Fisher's going to have a go up the inside of Seal. Seal breaks late. Oh, and he hits Andy McEwen! Andy McEwen goes around. That'll have massive title implications just there. My neighbours are downstairs having a barbecue and wondering what's going on, I'm sure. But yeah, Andy McEwen goes around. He drops all the way back to P8. He's got our pro-am leader of Jamie Gulliford now over at the back of him. But that is exactly not what was wanted. Adam Delmont is away scot-free. He's 1.4 seconds clear of Lars Fisher. Griffiths in P3. And then it's Cooper up to P4. Goes on through. We've got the replay coming up just here. And this is a big disaster here. Oh, look at that, way too late on the brakes. Steamrolls into the back of Andy. I'm not even sure Andy knew he was coming. Absolute disaster there for Team Year 1, Jack.
Yeah, I mean, if your neighbours are wondering what the noise came from, just show them the replay. They'll understand, because that is... It's not ideal, is it? And Graham Sesswood almost gave a more audible, frustrated voice than actually we did there. And probably nobody more frustrated than Andy McEwen, though. And yeah, it was, to be honest, it was Lars Fischer. I'm not saying Lars Fischer's fault at all. He did nothing wrong. It was Lars Fischer looking at the inside of James Neave, then both looking in their mirrors, missing their braking zones, trying to outbrake each other. And it was just a mistake, unfortunately. And the only driver who's actually come out of that, really, the worst driver who's come out of that is, as we said, McEwen. Seal is actually ahead of him on the road, which I'm sure McEwen probably won't be too pleased about. Number 77, though, of Delmont will be very happy. He didn't do anything wrong. He just went around the corner, as he should. He's raced really hard. He's done very well. And the championship leader at the final end here at Snetterton will extend that championship lead. He takes the checkered flag, the number 77 Excite car of Adam Delmont. Looks like to take the victory. Fischer rounds out a good evening for 5-star. They've been on the podium in every single race. Griffiths has been on there a handful of times as well. He takes home 3rd. Jason Cooper, somehow through all of that, came home in 4th with James Neave, the top scoring Year 1 car, just about holding on to the top 5. Lee Holmes did well, actually, in 6th place. Probably thanks a little bit to that contact. Michael Seal, 7th, and Andy McEwen ended up in 8th. Winner of the Pro-Am was Jamie Gulliford. The winner of the Am was Adam Fox, 14th place. Wow, oh, wow, Reese. Drama right at the end. I was going to text Andy about the work that I've actually got at Snetterton with the Fun Cup this weekend. I think I might give him a day or two to get over that one, because I'm sure he won't be too pleased about it. And I'm sure Michael Seal, for the record, will be very apologetic. I don't think there's no way that Michael would have intended that, or James Neave. Actually, I can't even remember who it was now. There's no way that he would have intended that.
No, at all. And say, Sesswood has finally spoken in our ears. I thought he'd walked off, to be fair. I thought he'd had enough. But no, Michael Seal, unfortunately, yeah, it was just that one. Him and Lars Fischer was having a who breaks latest moment there into Montreal on the final lap. And unfortunately, both of them missed their braking points. I don't think Lars Fischer was anywhere near an apex either. Unfortunately for Andy McEwen, round he went, and what was looking like a promising podium for him all of a sudden became P8. So massive disappointment there for him. Yeah, it might be worth giving him a wide berth for a day or two, Jack. I can agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's. I thought we were going to have a chat with him, actually, because he quite often comes into the VMix call, doesn't he, to have a quick gab with us after he takes home a victory or a podium place. But I'll let you off, Andy. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We'll be able to bring you the full rundown of the results in a couple of minutes' time, just letting it get through all the servers and everything like that. But I hope you have enjoyed this evening. Reese, how have you enjoyed the races? That's where I was going.
They've been brilliant. We've had mixes of action. You had obviously the purity of race 1, where it all gets decided from qualifying. The 15-car reverse grid, Jason Cooper having that stellar drive through the field, and Lars Fischer disappearing off down the road. Obviously, you had the huge incident in race 1 at the start. Also, race 2 as well. On lap 2, there was a big incident through Williams there as well. And then we've had the 2 tight reverse grids just there in race 3 and 4, which has really just given us an all-out Grand Slam blockbuster action. A mega fight at front, just the best drivers in the series going toe-to-toe. And they've had some fantastic racing. Griffiths and Cooper going side-by-side into Brundle and Nelson was a highlight for me. The respect and the space that they gave each other. They didn't give each other an inch too much at all, but they also didn't really drive each other off the road at any point. Maybe I'll squeeze here or there, but no, it was some fantastic driving by both of them. And yeah, a great night. I think 5-star. They've got to give them both a pat on the back, because they've been absolutely mighty from a pace perspective tonight, and plenty of points just in there. But yeah, a lot of talking points tonight from the races, Jack.
I was going to say, Jason Cooper bringing in Lars Fischer, that's a big positive for him, isn't it? Because to have that teammate, to have someone on your side who's right at the front of the order, that could be big in terms of championship.
We spoke about it, actually. I think you touched on it in race 4 of those points, those top 6.7 positions. All of them, 3 teams, Excite, Year 1, and then having those 2 5-star drivers in there as well to kind of double Jason Cooper's firepower when it comes to fighting. However, Jack, I think if you'd like to take it on over, I'm sure the champagne is on ice because we've got the podium just here.
God, I wish something was on ice anyway. Adam Delmont on pole took home the race victory there with Lars Fischer in second place and Tom Griffiths in third. And you can see the podiums. There we go. On your screen now with Jason Cooper just behind them in fourth. James Neve in fifth. Sixth is Lee Holmes. Seventh, Michael Seal. Eighth, Andy McEwen in the end. Ninth, Jamie Gulliford winning the Pro-Am category. Kip Stevens rounded out the top 10. 11th was Sam Smith. Mark Van Dalen was in 12th. Thor Tuller in 13th. 14th. And winning the AM class victory is Adam Fox. Nick Clibbins was in 15th with Douglas Stewart in 16th. 17th, Leon Jenkins. 18th, Craig Schill. 19th, Fiona Siddons. Julian Schroer rounds out the top 20. And then we only had another 5 cars even. Glenn Humberstone in 21st. Chris Dixon in 22nd. Colin Sansom in 23rd. With 24th being Craig McDonald, Luke Pullen and Mark Oliver. All DNFing, unfortunately. Right. I believe, as the camera's potentially going to be turned back on. There we go. It's about that time that we say goodnight, Reese. Well, I'll let you say your little goodnight first, actually. I never hand back over to you, and I always feel a little bit rude.
Oh, excellent. I've been trusted with it. So, again, getting word in my ear. So, Jason Cooper with the strong showing tonight. He's made it up to P2 in the championship. Adam Delmont got a mighty lead, 155 points. Doing some quick maths there. Adam Delmont leading championship. Jason Cooper second. Andy McEwen won't be... Well, no, he will be disappointed. I can't dress it up any other way. Slipped down to P3 there, with Tom Griffiths in fourths and Nick Clibbins rounding out our top 5. Still, Gulliford and Fox leading their respective classes. In fact, we've not got any of the Pro-Ams in the top 10 either. Adam McNally actually just posted it in the chat to say that his Rift died, which was why he didn't take part in race 3 or race 4. As I talk about the chat, I can see I've been trying to interact with you as much as I can tonight. There's been plenty of you sticking with us and being active. I'm sure there's been a few of you lurking in there as well. Thank you very much for sticking with us, guys. It has been a very, very warm evening. I hope you've all been hydrating as we go. And I say thank you very much for sticking with us. If you haven't already, please do hit the like button on tonight's broadcast. And also as well, remember to hit that subscribe as well. You'll be able to see when we go live. And on the subject of when we go live, next up, it will be the TCRs at Snetterton on Thursday night. The same time, 8 o'clock, or when the computers allow us to do it, for 4 more races in the BSR series, 4 15-minute races. Again, plenty of reverse grid drama just there. But from me and Jack, we'll see you next week at Monza. Same place, same time, at 8 o'clock. So be there or be square.